I welcome you to this meeting of Oberon Council. This meeting will be live streamed via Zoom webinar facilities. Recordings of council meetings or parts thereof cannot be copied, recorded, reproduced, reused or transmitted without the prior written consent of the General Manager. The meeting is being recorded and will be made publicly available on Council's website. Persons attending the meeting should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Acknowledgement of country. Item 2, Council acknowledges that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wiradjuri, Gundungurra and Darug people and respects the history and culture of the elders, both past and present. Do we have a prayer? Do we have someone to prepare? Thank you. If all stand, please, for the prayer.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity for the councillors to serve the people of Oberon. May you strengthen the councillors as they make tough decisions, and may you guide them to decisions that produce effective results. May they conduct this meeting in a way that shows love and concern for each other, and in a way that strengthens and encourages one another. Lord, bless this meeting, we pray, in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. And for record of attendance, I note that there are no leave of absence. I do note General Manager as an attendee rather than a member is absent, and that the Corporate Services Director is standing in for him. Declarations of interest. Item 5. Are there any declarations of interest by councillors, either pecuniary or non-pecuniary? No declarations of interest. Thank you. Item 6, there are no presentations. Item 7, questions from the public. Members of the public wishing to address council are permitted to do so, provided the following guidelines are adhered to. The person asking the question at the council meeting must clearly state their name and in what capacity they are acting. If the person asking the question is acting as another person, organisation's agent, they must advise council if they have their prior consent authority. Questions from the public is not an opportunity for debate with elected representatives or staff. It is an opportunity for the community to ask a question in relation to an issue or put a point of view relating to an issue that may be causing interest or concern. Due to time constraints, a time frame of 3 minutes per speaker is allocated. All questions and comments must be directed through the Mayor, and in the instance of a question, if it cannot be answered, it will be taken on notice and a response given within a reasonable period. This is the only opportunity for a community member to address council during an ordinary meeting. I understand there are 3 questions from the public from the O'Connell Public School. Is that correct? I think we have Riley, Ellie, and obviously Trish Forsyth. Who'd like to go first?
Yeah, that's the best.
Riley and Ellie, you can do would you like to give your full names, please?
Emma?
Thank you.
Sorry, my bad.
So you get so just that's fine. You'll get on the speaker now. Thank you.
Good evening, councillors and Mayor McKibben. My name is Riley Scanlon and this is Ellie Hall. And we are proud captains of O'Connell Public School. We are here tonight to talk on behalf of our school to express our strong support for the proposed footpath, connecting the bridge to the recreation ground. We understand there has been a motion regarding the redirection of funds away from the sponsored projects and wish to highlight the importance of this path for our school community. The motion states that the footpath is a waste of taxpayers' money as it goes nowhere. We disagree with this statement. The footpath does in fact run between Hassel Park and the O'Connell Recreation Grounds. Once there, community members can continue on the footpath along the avenue to the cafe and hotel. The footpath will be essential for our students as it will facilitate safe access to the recreation ground for weekly sports, training sessions and special events. Currently, the absence of a direct route limits our ability to utilise this important community resource effectively.
With the proposed path, we envision a more efficient means of transporting our students to the recreation ground, either by walking or riding. Currently, the recreation ground currently we need to take eight return bus trips to relocate students to the rec ground, taking over an hour to do so. In absence of the pedestrian bridge, we are able to ferry students across the bridge by bus in around 15 minutes. Once they arrive to the Hassel Park, they will have a safe and accessible route to walk to their sporting activities. It should also be noted that Hassel Park and indeed the recreation ground are secondary evacuation points for the school, and depending on the emergency, may be required to move students from one to the other. Additionally, we are aware that the RMS is actively working to the pedestrian bridge project. Once complete, the footpath will enhance accessibility to the recreation ground, making it even easier for our students and the wider community to enjoy these facilities. It will also create a vital link between Hassel Park and the recreation ground and the O'Connell Cafe and Hotel, encouraging greater community engagement and activities.
In light of these benefits, we urge the council to reconsider any motions that may redirect funds away from this necessary footpath project. Its completion will not only enhance the safety and well-being of our students, but also promote greater community connectivity. Thank you for considering our request. We appreciate your attention to this matter and look forward to your continuing support in enhancing our community's infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Riley and Ellie. And would you like to leave us with your notes? If you could give them to Sharon, that would, thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. You did both very well. Thank you. Thank you, Trish.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a point on the issue of safety. It was
Sorry, I might just say for
sorry,
the record,
principal at O'Connell Public School,
Thank you.
and also chairperson of the O'Connell Valley Community Group. The issue of safety was mentioned tonight prior to the meeting, of children moving along the footpath on such a busy road. And that has been taken into consideration with the initial studies of the traffic, and also whenever children leave the school grounds, a risk assessment is undertaken, and the moving of such a road would require a risk assessment where there are staff at the beginning and the end of student movements. And we feel that as such, they would walk along or ride along in a very safe manner, and we don't consider there to be any risks associated with that once it's built. The other thing is the getting to and from school. We have a number of children who would like to walk the whole way or part of the way, and a number of our children are dropped off at the O'Connell Hotel at 8 o'clock, and having that continuation of the path once the pedestrian bridge is built would mean that children would indeed walk and ride to school either with their parents or older siblings. So that was all I just wanted to add, just on the safety issue and the issue of getting to and from school. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Trish. Are there any other questions from the public? All right, Bishop.
My name is Irene Bishop. I live at 14 Prince Street, adjoining Edith Road, opposite the entrance to the common on Edith Road. I'm lodging a complaint about the lack of maintenance to the embankment on Edith Road, which is very overgrown, tall grass, thistles, small shrubs and trees. Last year, when maintaining the area, the council poisoned most of the embankment off, making it unsightly, very dry, with the potential of being a real fire hazard. This area was budgeted for a sandstone wall, the same as in the common and on other entrances into town. I am aware the contractor that did the other work has retired, but that was 2 years ago. There is now another stonemason in town that could be contacted. This embankment was maintained on a regular basis until 2 years ago. I have contacted the council on many occasions for the embankment to be cleared and made safe. With the beautifully manicured common on one side of the road, the embankment on the other side is not only unsightly, also a fire hazard and in the middle of town. Today I was informed to maintain the embankment is now a safety issue. I would expect any safety issues be addressed. As this road is one of our main entrances to the town from Goulburn, I believe it should be a priority with increased tourism. Over a period of time and effort to bring this matter to your attention, it has proven difficult. A more timely response would be expected given the length of time this project has been on council books.
Thank you very much. Irene, would you like to leave us with your notes?
No problem.
I do know, personally, I have raised it with the general manager. There is a safety issue in being able to do the works, but it will be looked at, and I'll assure you it is being looked at. Thank you very much for your presentation and question, but we will get back to you with a plan of action as to what we intend doing. But obviously, as you appreciate, the build stone wall is quite expensive. So we
I
have,
realise the stone wall is probably going to be a little way away, but you know, when the vegetation is so unsightly and quite long, and quite extensive.
oh, absolutely. But we also have to look at safety of staff, so we have to block it off either end.
Yeah, but up until 2 years ago, it was looked after fairly well. So all of a sudden, it's just a very low
All right,
priority.
we'll come back to you with an answer on that. That's fine. Thank you very much. Are there any other presentations from the public? If not, we'll move to item 8, which is confirmation of minutes. The recommendation is the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 15th of October 2024 be confirmed. I have a motion, please. Thank
Move on.
the mover. Well, I can ask for motion because the motion can be separate from the remember. Motion. So the motion as per the recommendation.
Right.
Thank you. Have a seconder, please. Thanks, councillor Tremblay. Councillor Hayden, councillor Tremblay.
Nothing
Any discussion on the minutes? If not, I put the motion. All in favour? Carried unanimously. We move to item 9.1, which is the mayoral minute and report for November 2024. The recommendation is the report at item 9.01 is received as information, and I will move a motion to that effect. Can I have a second, please? Thank you. Yeah, oh, councillor Hayden, thank you. Any discussion on the mayoral minute? Councillor Hayden.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what time slot the 2DS interviews are now on. Are they all still for Tuesdays?
No, there's 7:40 a.m. on Friday mornings.
7:40 on Friday.
So I'm not, yes,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they go live or not. at that
Okay,
stage.
and just a question around the transport plan conversation that you had. How did that go?
Which one was that?
That was the 30th of October. Central Western Orana Strategic Regional Integrated Transport Plan Orange.
Yes, and that was interesting, but it was a very high level. There was no specific commitments. It was basically putting a wish list together and having a workshop of representatives from council to indicate what priorities may exist. They didn't want to talk specifically about, well, it was raised, obviously, straightening rail lines from Lithgow through to Orange, especially with the bullet being extended to Orange. Obviously, better access over the Blue Mountains for rail and road was discussed, but they wanted to get sort of into more general issues rather than those specific. So a lot of priorities were certainly given to Transport for New South Wales, and then they're going out for further community consultation outside the mayors and general managers as well.
Okay, and I would just like to thank the Mayor for attending NAIDOC and the other events that you've attended. It's been very well appreciated by the community, so thank you. Nothing further to add.
Yeah,
Councillor, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in regard to the 4th of November meeting with Central West Forestry Hub,
yes,
at the recent IBS, you mentioned that Stronglow Tag were there as well.
they were.
And Jill asked the question whether
Yes.
minutes of that meeting would be provided.
So I have gone back to the coordinator to ask for the minutes. I haven't had a response as far as I'm aware. But I did pursue the issue further in that I sent Pines Wind Farm an email, which I copied the general manager and Sharon about reference because I know the reference was to the 2005 DCP. As of about 5-10 minutes ago, I do have some type of response, but I haven't time to fully digest it, as you're aware, I think. But I did get some response late this afternoon. I went to, I think, Joanna Murphy, but I will circulate the response.
But the minutes.
The minutes are still not out. Now, the minutes may not come out until immediately prior to the next meeting. So, but I haven't had a response from the coordinator. Sorry, councillor Prember.
Some correspondence from the 18th of October in. Just when you'll be able to share the response from Cara Moriarty that you received via portal. Are you going to share that with all the councillors?
I thought it was circulated. Sorry.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor, no, that's in relation to an amendment that I put forward to the current state government to amend with forestry paying rates.
Yeah.
And that was a response to myself that I actually forwarded to the general manager and the mayor for just their information,
Are you happy that that be circulated to council?
if you like, but it is ongoing.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. I thought it had been circulated. I do recall that I read it, but yes, I don't. I thought it actually had gone to it's fine. But if councillor Hayden's happy, then we can circulate. Any other comments on the Merrill Minute report? If not, I put the motion, the report item 9.01 is received as information. All in favour? Thank you. We go to notices of motion, which is item 10, and there are a number of notices of motion. 10.1 is Abercrombie Road repairs, request for report. The motion is that council receives a full report to the December ordinary meeting regarding the roadworks on Abercrombie Road, including the funding source for the repairs. Can I have a mover for the motion? Councillor McCarthy, thank you. Seconder. Councillor O'Connor, thank you. Councillor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The proof's in the pudding out here. You go along the road, in the middle of the road's failed. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to see it's gone. But I don't want to see the report come back blaming someone that's gone. In our work system, we have a works manager, overseer, grader driver, a ganger, a roller operator with experience. And I want to know in this report why the material went in so deep without being compact in layers. We need a full detailed report. And this area was highlighted by councillor Hayden that it was dangerous on the edges. In Oberon, we have black ice in the winter. And when your vehicle goes off the road, you're relying on the edge of the road being able to sustain you up. In the pictures provided by the director, and I want to thank her for those, you can see that a small vehicle could easily tip over. So this has been a load of rubbish road repairs on our staff. And that's why we need this report. And we also need to report is where the funding's coming from, because funding for roads is always short, but to have to go and redo something, we've got brand new rollers, we've got graders, it's all good equipment. It's not being utilised properly. And my only concern is if you go to page 61 in your report, R2 says pre-qualifications. Now, why would you want to be Transport for New South Wales employing this council as a qualified contractor when you have that sort of work? We've been down the aisle of completing the Shooters Hill Road, magnificent job by our staff. Something out there's wrong. Something's not right. We took over from Leighton's and the forestry and completed that road right to Shooters Hill. The staff done a terrific job. Something in the system's not right.
All right, well, I'm sure the report will come back.
Okay, thank you for that.
That's okay. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'd like to say that I support this motion. I had brought this up previously when the road was first done. It has failed in numerous sections, and I do believe that we need an extensive report to get behind some of this work, and I thank Councillor McCarthy for his motion.
Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I support Councillor McCarthy's motion also. The only thing I would add as a request for information to go in the report, I'd be interested to get some background on what design and investigations were carried out. I know that's before the current director's time, so there's no reflection on the current director whatsoever, but I'm just interested to know, particularly in relation to the pavement design, pavement investigations and testing construction, if that could be included in the report, please.
Any other discussion? I'll just, look, I agree with the motion. As council's aware, I have already, we received a report back from the technical services director who went out and actually inspected the site and inspected further down the road at Porter's Retreat. So I have full confidence in the technical services director coming back and reporting on this issue. That report was circulated to all councillors, if you're aware that, and I think that's a full acknowledgement by the technical services director that she's on, completely onto it. And I thank the technical services director for being for going out so expeditiously when the issue was raised and for investigating. So I'm sure this report will be forthcoming. Okay. Any further discussion on this issue? If not, I put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. Carried unanimously. We go to 10.2. Well-planned wind farm providing a positive contribution to the Oberon community and environment. The motion is that Oberon Council write to Stromlo/Tag Energy requesting their confirmation that the proposed wind farm development will comply with all aspects of our council's and community's development control plan, wind power generation 2005. Could I have a mover for that motion? Councillor O'Connor. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor O'Grady. Thank you. Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the wind power generation 2005. The previous mayor has requested the state forestry comply with that. I believe Gary, our general manager, has also written to them asking to comply. The Oberon Development Plan Wind Tower sets out the guidelines, requirements and criteria for developers of wind projects in the Oberon local government. The objective development application guidelines, planning, environmental controls and council contributions requirements are noted in the development control plan. Notwithstanding the proposed Stromlo Tag Energy project is deemed one of state significance, Stromlo Energy Tag should be guided to adhere to our development control plan. Now, I won't tell a short story, but if I might tell, I'll just tell a short story. Imagine having a house in town and someone buys property next door and says, I'm going to do a development next to your house and I'm going to build a house 5 stories high and I'll give you some money because there's going to be nuisance and detriment to your house. And there's no rules. And then they twist and turn and at the end of the day, they have indemnities where all the issues are put on that neighbouring household. Well, that's exactly what's now happening in our LGA. We are now at the table. I mean, that's a term that's been used loosely for a number of months, that we're waiting for a seat at the table. Where we are at the table now. Stromlo Tag are negotiating with our community about this project, but there's an unequal balance of power. They are going to property owners saying, here's a display of the number of towers you're going to see. Some have reported 40. And then they say, we will give you some money for that. And but they won't provide any documentation. So what I'm saying is, at the moment, we're at the table and we need to understand what's going out, that we need to communicate with our community and listen to them. Now, our DCP sets out things like setback, ridge lines, number of towers, size of towers, mitigation, the impact of farmers and tourism. And it actually has a clause about road repairs. They say, if any developer comes to town and they chew up our roads, they have to fix them. Well, I will bring to in the December meetings some verifiable figures, but I'll give you some brief ones. 700,000 total truck movements, 2 million tonnes in those truck movements. The damage to our roads from those 290 odd towers will be catastrophic. You know, we don't need to talk about potholes. So we need a seat at the table now, and that's why we need to, at the very instance, send that wind tower development control plan.
Right, thank you. Councillor
Further
Grant.
to add.
Okay, further discussion. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'd like to speak against this motion. Currently, we're undergoing a comprehensive land use strategy. Within that land use strategy, we're going to be further reviewing our development control plan and our local environmental plan. I don't agree with the motion at all. I believe that there is some conflicting information coming across here. And I, through the chair, I don't kind of understand where councillor is actually speaking from, whether he's speaking from his role as the Oberon Against Wind Towers or as his role as a councillor. So I find that quite conflicting, bringing this before council. I also am under the understanding that there is no project in place. There is currently only scoping, and there won't be any possible project going forward to 2028, possibly 2030. Currently, they have a tender that they have won through forestry. So I don't believe this motion actually holds any great value to council currently in the construct that Howard is worded. Thank you.
Councillor Finlay.
I do support the motion. I would actually say to Councillor O'Connor, it probably should have a slight amendment where it has strong low tag energy and New South Wales Forestry. I think everyone should always remember to not disconnect New South Wales Forestry from this. They have established them as the proponent to do the build. In the very first meetings that we had, it was actually New South Wales Forestry and I think Strong Low Tag that said our DCP was one that they thought was the gold standard, and they would be looking to apply that to anything that they did. I don't think it's got anything to do with whether it's at a project scoping stage or anything like that. I have got a further motion coming later and I'll add more to what's going on here. But this is really just to say, this is our current DCP. This is where we are at a point in time, and we would like to know from them that they are acknowledging the DCP that exists in our LGA and they will need it. Nothing more, nothing less. So I fully support the motion with just that slight amendment to include New South Wales Forestry.
I think it probably should be Forestry Corporation.
Or Forestry Corporation, yes.
Anyone else to discuss?
Oh, sorry, is that?
Councillor Tucker.
I'm not clear, Mr Mayor, is that an amendment?
Well, I'm assuming that the proponent, the proposer and the seconder
If they're
may
happy,
agree to that amendment.
if they're happy to just add Forestry Corporation in their own.
That's the bit that we left out because we weren't sure if the mover and seconder.
No, I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm also going to suggest a small amendment, and it will be whether the mover and seconder agree, or otherwise I would need a seconder. I'm just going to suggest that the words "their confirmation" be deleted. So it would simply be requesting that they comply, because I very much doubt that they're anywhere near progressive enough to even know whether they're going to be able to comply. So I've got no problem with writing to them, asking that they make every effort to comply. But if we have the words "their confirmation," well, we'll probably be waiting about 5 years before they can confirm.
No, that's a good amendment.
I agree.
So that I take it the mover and the seconder are happy with that?
Yes.
That's being deleted. Any further discussion?
Yes,
Councillor McCarthy.
I support the motion to get as much information as we can. And I'll give a little one about the housing one, is that I bought a block of land off this council. Next thing you know, the state government said, we want you to build 2 houses on this block. So the poor people that backed onto us have now got another house on the same block of land. So the state government will do what they want to. They don't care about the people that reside in the bush. But I just think the more information we get on these windmills, the better.
Absolutely. Councillor Connor, you will note that I have already tried to get some indication from CAG on this issue. Quite happy for it to be a motion. They were advised that there would be a motion coming before the meeting. All right, so no further discussion on this matter. I'll put the motion. All in favour? So we've got 7 for and councillors Hayden and Elders again.
I have an issue with it in the sense that,
Well,
this,
we passed the motion.
oh, well,
Sorry,
okay.
councillor Elders, you should have actually spoken before we voted.
Now,
Sorry, apologies for that.
it's okay.
There is another notice of motion coming up that you may have the same issue on, so you might need to speak on that. We go to 10.3, the proposed heritage listing of the O'Connell First World War Memorial Avenue of Trees.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor, did you vote on the amendment first and then the amendment become the motion and then vote on the motion?
The amendment there was no formal amendment because the proponent and the secretary agreed to those slight amendments being included in the motion.
Thank you.
Sorry, we go to 10.3, proposed heritage listing of the O'Connell First World War Memorial Avenue of Trees. The motion is in 3 parts, that council advise as to the progress regarding update the draft state heritage inventory sheet for the Avenue of Trees at O'Connell, reference 2210207, including a timeline for completion. 2, provide an update regarding prepare a planning proposal for the individual listing of the Avenue of Trees at O'Connell as a local item for inclusion in Schedule 5 of the Oberon LEP 2013, including a timeline for completion. And 3, progress regarding advise the local community in the O'Connell to consider liaising with Heritage New South Wales based on the state level assessment of the 1998 CMP with a long-term view of nominating the Avenue of Trees for inclusion separately on the state heritage register. Now, I do note there is a general manager's note on this one, which I will read. Council has prepared the documentation for the state listings, which is progressing through its heritage advisor. A report has previously been provided to council. Council's planning and development director is working on the development of a comprehensive land use strategy that will inform additional items council and its community would like to see protected. This item has already been highlighted to the council's planning consultants that will assist in moving items forward to a state listing. Can I have a mover for the motion noting the general manager's comment? Councillor O'Connor.
Can we deal with them in 3 different sections, 3 different ones or not?
Yes, you can if you want.
I'd prefer that way because I think one thing in item 1 is critical is the timeline of completion.
Well, we can put them in, yes, we can put them in 3. You're happy with putting them in 3? I mean, we haven't had a seconder yet, that's why I'm saying, yeah.
I'm happy, but I think it'll be shown that we probably don't require it. I'm happy.
Right, that's all right. Well, let's put first one is the council advise progress regarding update the draft.
Who's the seconder?
Oh, the seconder for putting it in 3 sections.
I'll second it to.
No.
Yep.
We have to have you're putting it up to say, we want to hear this in 3 separate parts. Do you have a seconder for that?
Well, see, and look what.
You want a seconder to have it heard in 3 parts?
Yep.
Do we have a seconder? Do we have a seconder? If not, then we go back and it's put into it's as a composite in 3 sections. I've already read it, so Councillor O'Connor, do we have a seconder for the motion as it read? It's Councillor O'Grady. Right, Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The origin of this notice of motion is one just two stages, I guess. Its genesis was the extraordinary meeting in June. We're now in November. And since that time, we've now got another project proposed, which now brings us up to 295 towers. I won't, and in the motion, in the recommendation and the from the extraordinary meeting in June, the 3 parts to that. What I might say, rather than read them out again, but what I might say is because of the 2 things that have happened at a period of time, but also we now have this project at foot. Again, I'll verify this in the December meeting, but we're now looking at 295 towers by 17 movements per tower, which gives 5,000 oversized, I'm going to say this slowly, oversized and overmassed truck movements. There's 5,000 that are going to pass along that road. That doesn't include all the other traffic. So these trees are at great risk. I do note our general manager's comments. That's somewhat confused me, and I beg your forgiveness or your patience with me because I'm a new councillor. But in reading his, it didn't bring any more clarity to me. So I'll just try to provide some clarity to the question. Is what documents are being prepared? Is there a planning proposal actually being prepared? Is a heritage assessment being prepared? And then provide an update to the timeline for the completion of these documents. Because a planning proposal comprises a number of documents. So all I'm really asking, it's June, it's now November, how's it progressing? But not just one limb of that. And then with regard to Councillor McCarthy's question, the same. To me, we need to know if that has been drafted and including a timeline, and then the third point as well.
Right, Councillor O'Grady.
The only thing I'd like to add is I agree that we need timelines for completion. Can't be just left up in the air.
Councillor Trimmer.
I support the motion, and really, if you look at it, this is just a request for information. It's quite straightforward. It is timely that we do get an update. And again, probably just a slight amendment. If you agree that council bring a report back to the December 2024 meeting on the recommendations endorsed at the June 2024 extraordinary meeting. 1, taking out advices to the progress, where it starts at update, Sharon. 2, prepare a planning proposal. 3, advise the local community. If the report back to council could cover those 3.
All right, great.
And I think that makes it sort of very simple, straightforward, and we'll have the heritage advisor and the planning director providing that report back to us so we know where we stand. And I think that's well what you
I'm
want.
going to ask the Director of Planning to just provide an update and what's possible.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and for the Chair. I'm happy to provide a report back for the December meeting. But further to that, Heritage Advisor and our internal staff have been working on the proposal. The Heritage Advisor advises that he plans to have a report or a draft report to me at this stage looking like January 2025, and I'd be therefore preparing a report to go to council for consideration in February 2025, the first meeting of 2025. And that will be outlined in the report. And further to that, we'll be working on if that report and the recommendation then reported adopted by council, then that would form part of the planning proposal that internal staff would do to send to the Department of Planning through the New South Wales Planning Portal. Keep in mind that the trees are currently protected under the Common Heritage Conservation Area, so there is some form of protection. However, we'll outline that further in the report coming to council in December.
And it's in relation to several of the other issues which are part of the comprehensive land use strategy. That's obviously subject to the current timeline for the completion of that report, is it? That's land use study, which is a lengthy process.
Through the Chair, correct. And with the community and City Council consultation, there'll be invitations for owners and or council to consider further properties for or land for heritage consideration.
Okay, so you have to provide a report back in December, which in some ways will indicate what you've partially indicated now.
But through the Chair, it'll be preempting a report that will come in February. So that will be the final report. This will just be a brief response to your question.
December will have a timeline.
Correct, yes. Okay, so through the Chair, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Once we submit the planning proposal to the Department of Planning, they can take upwards of 12 months.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
I just want to see if this amendment is acceptable to the mover and the seconder, otherwise we have to
There
treat it
was
as
no,
separately.
there was no asking for an amendment. Councillor Trinbath just started talking. She
No,
didn't,
I
she didn't
said-
state that she wanted an
I
amendment.
said if they agreed to a slight amendment, and I read it out.
So
Well understood.
you're happy with the
Very,
amendment?
very happy with that amendment.
Can we get the wording, please, just on screen, please, in front of you?
Do you want me to read it again, Sharon? Yep.
Is that council by
That council-
December?
That council bring a report back to the December 2024 meeting on the recommendation endorsed at the June 2024 extraordinary meeting. And
Again,
one, I
sorry,
would-
hang on, go again.
Right. That council bring a report back to the December 2024 ordinary meeting on the recommendations endorsed at the June 2024 extraordinary meeting.
And then namely,
1,
Yeah.
2,
3.
and 3. And yes, take that out, that it's sort of superfluous to that. And provide an update, yeah, out and progress.
Right,
Okay.
councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'd like to speak against the motion. Once again, I can see a major conflict coming forward here. I'm not sure whether councillor is speaking from Oberon against wind towers once again, or as his position as a councillor. I can also see in the document that there are listed pecuniary interests in there. I do not agree with this motion coming before council. There could have been an email to the general manager and to the planning director for an update instead of wasting this council's time having the discussion over something that we've already previously put forward and that has a resolution attached to it. I take great offence in the reasoning of calling it the First World War Memorial. The O'Connell Avenue of Trees has been known as the O'Connell Avenue of Trees since its inception in 1922 and then its agreement in 1923. It has never been known as O'Connell Avenue First World War Memorial. It's O'Connell Avenue of Trees, and that is as it is. And I would also like to just make it known that this council is here for this Oberon community, and we don't need to be here to keep pushing through opinions and recommendations from Oberon against wind towers. Thank you.
Thank you. I do know the content of the motion where there is a reference, does reference the avenue of trees at O'Connell in point 1 and point 2. I don't think there's a reference within the body of the motion.
Under reason.
Well, that's just.
Okay. Anyone else speak on this matter? Councillor Olivers, do you want to, because you didn't before,
Totally different.
totally different, right? If not, I'll put the motion in 3 parts. Sorry, I'm right, sorry, I didn't see you. Speak up.
You're right.
Apologies.
It's the land use study and when it's completing. And in a report further on, it has not got a defined time and this is going to be completed. So we should be going out, in my opinion, to the general public now before Christmas. Then you're going to have the break later on. We're wasting time. And that's the trouble with all this. It's going out and out and out. There's got to be a time when you hit the full stop button.
We are getting, I believe, a timeframe from CLUS, and that's why I asked the question a minute ago of the Technical Services Director, and certainly this will be subject to the comprehensive land use study, which has a lengthy timeframe. Sorry, Councillor O'Connor, you're right to reply.
A little bit confused, Clive. So this proposal that we're putting forward, our planning proposal, is on its own feet. It's not going to be part of the comprehensive land use strategy. That is the normal course of events. What you do is you bundle up any of these proposals in that. This is just going to be on its own feet.
Well, I think that the Director of Planning will come back and provide us with that information in the December meeting as to how it's going to be worked. That's why I asked the question earlier when we were discussing this. So I think that will be part of that. Is that correct? All right, without any further ado, I put the motion in 3 parts. All in favour? That's councillor McCarthy and councillor Hayden against?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. 10.4. TAG Energy, Stromlo Energy and New South Wales Forestry. The motion is that council invite Stromlo Energy, TAG Energy and New South Wales Forestry, maybe we should change that to Forestry Corporation, to bi-monthly meetings to keep council up to date with the Pines Wind Farm project, number 1. 2 is record the meetings using webinar facilities. 3, live stream the meetings via Teams for the community to watch online only. And 4, diarise the meetings and community, any non-attendance by TAG Stromlo to the community. Sorry, 4, diarise the meetings and community, any non-attendance by TAG Stromlo to the community. I can't quite understand the wording of that.
Communicate.
Just a-
Diarise the attend,
Let's diarise the meetings
yes,
and I'm assuming notify
And
the
any
community of
non-attendance.
any non-attendance.
So basically, it's setting the meetings in place. If they don't come, then
Mr Mayor, I have.
you'll appreciate that any recording of meetings or live streaming have to be subject to their approval.
Mr Mayor, I have an alternate motion I'd like to put forward.
Yes,
Yes, my motion reads that council request permission from Stromlo TAG that any future meetings with council be conducted and recorded via live stream for community access via council's Teams webcasting. There needs to be the reason behind, I can't speak to that until I have a seconder, of course, but
do you have a second for that motion?
Yeah, give it a go.
All right, councillor McCarthy.
the reason behind that, Mr Mayor, is point 1 of the previous, there is already agreements in place from Stromlo TAG to attend this council and present to council. They have agreed previously to be recorded in-house. The only position here that needs to be changed is actually the recording for public access. So I think that's the only motion that needs to be put forward.
Councillor McCarthy.
No, I think the council need the public to be able to view these meetings. The way this is recorded, it's still only good council. But I think the public should know what's going on.
it is.
I would have thought 3 is fairly explicit, but anyway.
Okay,
But that's what 3 means.
Any further discussion on the alternate motion?
Mr Mayor, the other point there that is by asking them bi-monthly or monthly just to get a regular update. I know they had a drop-in session, but
So what you've got to do is see if the mover and the second would amend it, would amend their motion to include bi-monthly, or you oppose it, which would you like to do?
I'm just reading out the motion
It's
here.
still then.
No,
That's right.
but you have an alternate motion.
Yeah.
You can ask councillor Hayden and councillor McCarthy whether they include bi-monthly if that's the issue. Or you can speak against the motion.
Sorry,
I'm not quite sure what you're doing.
either do I.
Sorry.
I did say.
You're about to.
I did say.
Right. Yes. So what you'd have to do is oppose it and foreshadow that we're going back to the original motion. I'll just give you that because I know it. So what you'd have to do is say, I would oppose this and I foreshadow that we'd go back to the original motion as listed on the books if that's what you want to do.
That's correct.
unless the other one gets lost.
But if you foreshadow it, then if this motion's lost, you can go back to that one. I realize you knew it, I'm just trying to explain.
Thank you, thank you.
But if you don't foreshadow, then nothing may happen if this motion, if this alternate motion is lost.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So what are you doing?
I'm foreshadowing that,
Opposing it.
opposing it.
And going back to the original motion as on the books, right? If the motion, okay. Any further discussion on this? Thank you, councillor Hayden.
yes, For the new councillors' information, Stromlo Tag contacted this council and requested that we have monthly or bi-monthly meetings with them to keep us updated as per their investigation. So there is no question around the monthly, bi-monthly type scenario. The only addition and that this alternate motion has is addressing the fact that what is currently being agreed to and in place is that the public can view the meeting, not that they attend, that they view. That's why I put forward that amendment, that alternative. Thank you.
Okay, I will put the alternate motion. Have we got it up there? So you're happy with that, councillor Hayden?
Yep.
Councillor, you're happy with that, councillor McCarthy? That's all right. Put the motion. All in favour?
You seconded it.
You don't have to vote.
All right, the motion is lost. We've had a foreshadow, so we go back to the original motion. Councillor O'Connor, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and just for clarity and for the councils with L plates, and maybe because we've only been the chair for a little while, these 1, 2, 3, 4 points, by setting that out and moving that motion, it becomes clear what we're requesting from Stromlo.
Sorry, it's your, sorry.
My motion.
It is your motion, but there was an alternate motion and he foreshadowed it. So you can second it now. Thank you. Councillor Tremba.
Okay, it's a bit of a windy night tonight, isn't it? Look, I think the motion speaks for itself, and it's just continuing the community engagement requirement for an open and transparent council. And as that was expressed to us by the community when we were campaigning. The meetings with Tag Stromlo and New South Wales Forestry are very useful, and I do want to continue to have, and most importantly, that our community can see that councillors are asking questions and not just being bystanders, because that's the perception. I recently asked separately, the mayor's aware of my question, Stromlo Tag and Forestry to confirm the amount of land that will be required for the current scope project of 250 wind turbines in the Oberon State Forest. And the response I got back after asking twice was it was commercial in confidence. And I was very concerned at that response. That's not what we want to hear. And as a councillor, that I could not get a direct answer, what would our community have as a chance of talking to them? So there's probably many more questions out there that we're unaware of as well. I also asked regarding the transport route, and that was evasive as well. There was no direct answer.
No.
So the drop-in sessions for our community are useful, but not for councillors, as we want the opportunity to have the one-on-one with the whole team, as the drop-in sessions do not allow in-depth discussions. So that was the only reason that I wanted to formalise these meetings, because this project is moving at a lot faster pace than probably what we believed a year ago. And we as council should be very up to date so we can answer questions for our community. And they may be able to direct a question to you that when we do have those meetings, because not everyone wants to ask the questions in the drop-in sessions. And I think it's just a good vehicle. There's nothing tricky in it. Because I did, at one of our last meetings, I raised the issue of privacy and data collection with the electricity bills with the Tag Stromlo team, and they made the changes to the privacy policy. They were quite willing to do it. I also questioned the rebate for electricity should be CPI indexed, and they've made the changes to all their marketing material to reflect that. So it's sort of working together, but I want us to make sure that our community can see how we're approaching these discussions and that we're not just happy. So that was the only reason for this motion, to formalise it, get it recorded and available to the public, and have bi-monthly meetings.
Thank you. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'd like to speak against the motion in full. Only reason is that we've already had this agreement previously, and just to have the meetings recorded on council's webpage as per YouTube page, as per all our others, and being able to be live streamed. I believe that it doesn't need to be as extensive as this is. I don't understand portion 4, diarise the meetings and community, any non-attendance by tag Stromlo to the community. That point in itself is quite confusing. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I understand diarising the meetings. Most of the meetings are diarised that council hold and that council have anyway. Recording the meetings, they gave their consent last time. It was just having those publicly accessible, which was the issue. I don't support the motion in context that it is at the moment. And I also don't agree with some of what the seconder has stated, because there has been no project announced. There is only a brief strategy put forward. There is no project as such. They are still only scoping. They'll be putting wind masts up, and this council and this community will not know if the project will even go ahead for another period of 4 to 5 years. So they are looking at 2029 at the earliest and 2030 or after. So I don't support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councillor Trembar's reasoning for putting this up. I think it's a very good idea. We need to be up to date with what they're doing. It's all very well to say it might take a few years, but we need to know. And this is a good way of us getting that communication.
Open and transparent.
Yeah. If I could from the chair, my only concern with the motion is, I suppose, slightly the wording. I agree with one. You're inviting them to the to present on the bait, and then it should say on the basis that the meetings will be recorded using to live stream the meetings, because you're actually inviting them and telling them in the invite this is what's going to occur. Diarise one and non-attendance. I'm not quite sure with that, but I'm just I think when we invite them, we have to set out the basis on which the invitation. That's why I would sort of 2 and 3, I thought would have sort of flowed on from 1 as being maybe sub-paras of 1. It's just a wording thing. I'm not hard up with that. I understand what you.
Wouldn't own a dictionary either.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when you send the invite, we should be saying you're invited to attend. It's intended that we will record the meetings and live stream the meetings as part of a formal process to them. And obviously we would diarise the meetings on the community on our website. As the non-attendance by tag Stromlo, I mean, I wouldn't have thought it was in anyone's interest for them not to attend once they've accepted.
We can strike out non-attendance.
So I'm just trying to suggest a little reword to be a bit.
I'm happy. Just reword that.
I don't know what anyone else.
I think you should put up a notice of motion, Mr. Mayor, because you do it to mine all the time. So I think you should put one up if you want to change it. No, I'm fair.
I'm just trying to suggest a little bit.
Well, if you don't like it, change it.
I'm actually going back to the move on the seconder and trying to say, I'm trying to make it a little bit more palatable, but maybe you're happy with that. So I'm suggesting.
I'm happy with that.
Sharon, that we go after we say up to date with the Pines Wind Farm.
Yeah.
On the basis that record the meeting, that the meeting will be recorded using webinar, B, live streams, and the meeting, and C, that the meetings will be diarised on the council website or something.
Yeah.
I just don't quite like it, any non-attendance. I think that's a little bit, yes.
Strike that.
I think that's not political, but yeah, anyway. So if you're happy with that, I think that might be a bit more palatable.
More than happy.
Sorry, Clive.
Fixed later on, because
I might be a bit more diplomatic as well.
I'm going to score a point there.
It's just a non-attendance.
Yeah. And we're just bringing those in as part of the invite to say this is what.
So what was said, sorry? Stars.
diarise the meetings on the council website or something.
Yeah, that's it.
And yeah, that's good. I think that's better. Are you happy with that?
I think we just, if you're live streaming it anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
You have to tell people that
Yeah.
you're doing that anyway.
Happy.
That's good.
All right. I think, yeah,
You voting?
yes, I'm just waiting for Sharon to make sure she's got the word
Happy.
up.
Yeah.
All right, are you both happy with that? Yeah. All right. I put the motion as written as written. All in favour? All councillor Hayden's against, all other councillors are for it. Thank you. We go to 10.5, the active transport strategy O'Connell Footpath. The motion is the council review the active transport strategy for Oberon, O'Connell and the broader local government area. I have a mover for the motion. Councillor Hayden, seconder please. Councillor Tucker. Councillor Hayden, thank you.
Yes, I put forward this motion. Our active transport strategies are dated 2016. So the demographics and whole structure of our community has changed over that period of time. I note the attendance of the O'Connell students and I thank them for their presentation, which was very well articulated. However, I'm not sure that the children are aware that their school falls in the Bathurst LGA. One of the issues that we have with the O'Connell, just connecting to the O'Connell footpath section, is this has been a whole lot of conflicting information that has come to council previously, and there is no plan, there has been no community consultation to the broader LGA around where the footpath's going. So at one stage, it was going to go from the pub down along to the river. Next stage, it's going to go from the cafe along the front of the recreation ground. And the last conversation that was had, it was going to go out of the Beaconsfield Road gates, across the road, down in front of McKibben's house and through the table drain to the river, where there is nowhere else to go. So one of the issues is that this is taxpayer money, $360,000 of Australian taxpayers' money, to put a footpath in that I can't actually see being useful as it's designed currently. Previously, I was happy to support the footpath from the hotel down to Hassel Park because it made sense to have that connectivity between a parking area, public toilet, fishing spot, park area, walking along Fish River Festival and then going up to the hotel, a pedestrian crossing possibly put across to the cafe. That made a lot of sense. The last lot of presentation that this council was given was the footpath was going down via a table drain. One of the other issues I have around this whole strategy is that this Oberon community, when they heard about the O'Connell footpath, they're like, when did that get presented? When was it on public exhibition? No one has seen it. Everyone is concerned because we have other villages that haven't had their active transport strategy addressed through these active transport strategy plans. So one of the reasons I put the motion forward was to evaluate the current state of that grant and that footpath. Where are the plans up to? What is the community going to get? And how is all of this, if that footpath was to go ahead, going to affect our transport services with log trucks? So you're talking about a 80-kilometre-an-hour zone, having children on the side of the road with B-double log trucks, and we all know that a B-double log truck can fall over if it just happens to veer slightly. The back trailer can fall over, a bunch of logs fall out and plough over pedestrians, children or whatever. So the impact of that is going to have some issues with the transport route there because it may end up having a speed reduction. Now there's Transport New South Wales are looking at speed reduction on Beaconsfield Road. So we've already got a transport reduction of speed in O'Connell. O'Connell isn't a village, it's a rural area. So it is not listed as a village under our LEP. It is a rural area. So we've got a 60K zone. We may then end up with a 60K zone going down to a 40K zone because there's going to be pedestrian footpath. What if the pedestrian footpath was to go on the opposite side, and then what's going to be the impact in the Bathurst LGA where the school sits? The school is not Oberon LGA, it's Bathurst. So who is Bathurst going to come to the party and provide traffic lights, pedestrian crossing, footpath from their side of the bridge up to their school? So there's a lot of things that we need to think about this. This is one of the reasons I put it down under the active transport strategy, because this needs a thorough review. We need to have some community engagement around this with the broader LGA, because it affects everybody. And we also need to have those stakeholders involved in this that transport the goods on that route. So that's one of the reasons I put that forward. Thank you.
Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I seconded it because I've got a couple of questions and I'm not actually sure yet whether I'm going to vote for it or not, but it's going to depend on the questions. So the motion simply says that we review the active transport strategy. The motion itself doesn't say anything about the O'Connell footpath. So my first question is simply about what are the current plans and expectations for the O'Connell footpath. I think it's to be done using a grant, and I think there's a deadline on that grant.
It's June 2025. We have to extend it though.
Right. So if that was to pass, it doesn't say hold off on the footpath and until the review is complete. It doesn't say don't go ahead with the footpath. I would like to know from the acting general manager what you would take from that in relation to the progress of the O'Connell footpath. I'm assuming the footpath would still go ahead.
Well, I'll ask the director of.
The motion's in 5 parts.
Yeah. What?
It's, well, 5 parts are part of the motion.
Oh,
They are part of the motion.
well, that wasn't stated as part of the motion.
Yeah, let's answer, but I didn't, I assumed the motion was the first part.
Yes, I thought that was just, supporting.
It's numbered in the 5 numbers.
Okay, well, that changes things. I wasn't aware that you were intending that to be part of the motion.
Yes, that is the legality and, the official way to write a motion.
Okay, so I will ask the acting general manager to just comment on where we are with the footpath design, where we are with the grant. So how far we've got downhill, obviously big assistance from the Director of Technical Services were required. Thank you. Yeah, I think we need an update.
Through the chair, the first half of the question, the active transport strategy, we do agree they do need to be refreshed, and we're actually preparing a grant application under the next round of the Get Active 24, 25, 26 program. To do that, the approach would be an LGA wide strategic review to ensure that all the areas are included under the active transport strategy. For this particular project, the grant funding looks like it can be extended out until June 25. And that project was enacted under a council resolution to pursue an application under that in 2022. Currently, I know that there's work on the traffic consultants are looking at the design and that sort of thing. So it's very much in play. And we've updated Transport for New South Wales that we think we can, adhere to that time frame, knowing the grant will finish in June 25. So it's very much been enacted and underway. I don't have a specific, time frame as to when the construction, those things will happen, but there is some traffic consultant work that needs to happen now based on some advice from Transport for New South Wales.
But Mr Mayor, I'm assuming that if we were to decide to review the active transport strategy, and if it included all of that, the points 1 to 5, and if that meant that we could not proceed with the footpath until that review was complete, that review was going to take a fair bit of time, and that would pretty much stymie the footpath.
Through the chair, it would be at the liberty of the grant assessment process as well first to see if funding was availed. That would take some time, so absolutely we would impact the deadline of this particular project.
because I second it because I agree with reviewing the active transport strategy, and we've talked about that a couple of times, and there's other projects around that we've said, well, we weren't able to do anything because we don't have an up-to-date active transport strategy. So I'm fully supportive of doing that, but I just don't want to see it stop the progress on the footpath. And if that's part of the motion, then I won't be able to vote for it.
Right, and I might just ask Mr. Director, do you have any update on the sort of design and simply where it's up to with the footpath at this stage?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair, there was a council resolution earlier this year on going out to open tender for these, which has progressed due to Transport for New South Wales requesting or weren't quite in agreement with what was proposed to go to tender with. So there's still negotiations with Transport for New South Wales to on some details, which are progressing this week. I believe at the meeting scheduled tomorrow. Actually,
So we haven't actually formally gone out for a request for tender yet because we're still getting clarifications with Transport for New South Wales on what they will allow and what they won't allow. And I assume that's proximity to the road and other things. Yeah.
We actually asked for.
Okay, so in light of where we are we likely to get this completed by June 2025?
Yeah.
We believe we still will, and we will have the tenders back, and we would be able to construct this footpath.
That is the aim, and my understanding is that also if we don't use the funding for this purpose, we won't be able to use the funding at all. That was my understanding.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Through the chair, I spoke to the Grant Authority about potential variations that are very clear that it's a use it or lose it in this scenario.
Sorry, Councillor Turnbull, are you going to speak?
I support the motion as part one, because we do need to update the transport study and we need to have a Oberon LGA view of it. And I thought that Councillor Hayden bringing up was actually quite timely, and I was going to thank her because it is something that we should be considering. And as we know now, there is an actual grant available that we could apply for, and it closes 25th of November. So just taking part one is actually really great. With regards to 2, 3, 4 and 5, I don't agree. It was a resolution of council, staff had enacted it. The Grant Authority have already indicated they probably would not allow the funding to be diverted. So my question is it actually legal for us to even be considering 2, 3, 4 and 5 and diverting of funds?
Well, we can't divert the funds. We've
No.
been told that. So, I'm a bit uncertain as to what are you proposing an amendment?
I'm proposing amendment with only one. Initiate a comprehensive review of the active transport strategy for Oberon and the broader LGA.
And what about the second bullet point, assess changes in local dynamics, population?
Well, absolutely, and I've got all of those if anyone's interested in the different areas of the LGA. O'Connell is the biggest area outside of the actual township of Oberon and growing quite quickly. In 2006, it had 355 people. In 2016, it had 569 people. And 21, it had 653 people. And families are growing exactly the same way. So it's been 21% increase in families in that area. And it's just we should assess the active transport strategy.
So I'm not certain. Do we have, I don't believe, and I'll ask the acting general manager, have we allocated funds for updating our active transport strategy?
Through the chair, as it currently sits, we don't. So we are progressing this through a potential grant opportunity. So we don't have any funds allocated. So this resolution may need to allude to source grant funding for, next round of deliberations or another budget movement. But that's the grant opportunities where we're seeking to do this.
So bearing that in mind, are you proposing an amendment, Councillor Turnbull? And would you like to put it?
Up there.
You want to add something about the funding source?
Oh, you can.
And the funding source is what I'm suggesting. And the council seek out funding sources.
To support this initial, yeah.
But didn't you include those first?
I thought
documents?
you included the first two bullets under the number one.
So you've got to
So you
see
won't say-
changes in local dynamics.
And broader local government, including bullet, initiate a comprehensive review, bullet, assess changes in local dynamics, etc. Is that how you want it?
And three, yes.
Well, you'd make that a separate one too.
True.
Sorry, I'm not trying to
Initiate a
do it
comprehensive
for you.
review.
Just try-
Point five.
Oh, no, sorry, assess changes.
Point five.
You want those, initiate that, it's word for word, initiate a comprehensive review.
Yeah, put it here, including initiating a comprehensive assessment changes. I think it's what she wants to do too. Seek funding opportunities.
The first two sentences saying the same thing, right? Yeah, so I don't know if you need the,
Oh, we don't need that.
you need the first point?
No.
You're already saying that.
Including assessing changes.
Yeah.
And then number two will be.
I don't think you need O'Connell in there. I think it's, Oberon and the board of LG. I don't think it needs to be, putting O'Connell as separate. Assessment, yes. And then two, the Oberon LGA. That's right,
The
Oberon
overall,
LGA, yes.
And two is?
Seek funding opportunities to support this through grant opportunity, seek funding for this through grant opportunities.
And through the chair to the acting general manager. Point five in the original motion, the reporting and implementation, would that be necessary to specify? Or is this a given that we're going to get a detailed report with findings and recommendations?
Well, when we get the report, I think we then make the decisions based on that report, don't we?
Just double checking that.
Second.
Do you have a second for that motion? Thank you, councillor Graham. Councillor Graham, councillor Trimbar's probably already spoke. Do you want to say anything further? Councillor Graham?
Just a question, that review won't hold up the footpath.
No.
No.
As far as I'm aware, that's.
So through the chair, this particular grant, we're understanding that announcements will be made in May 2025. So that would be a separate piece of work to the current assist.
Any further discussion on this? Councillor Hayden, please.
Yes, thank you, councillor Trember, for putting, through the chair to councillor Trember, thank you for putting your amendment forward. I'm happy with what you're putting forward. We do need to get the active transport strategy underway. I can't speak on any further regarding consultation around the footpath, but I would like to see this council come back with the plan. Currently in the portal, we don't have the information for new councillors to look at, and there is no plan for anyone to look at regarding the design of this footpath. So that's a concern.
Thank you, councillor Hayden. I think the Director of Technical Services said there's still liaison with Transport for New South Wales. That's why we haven't got out to an RFT. So I think once that liaison has been completed with Transport for New South Wales, the Director of Technical Services will probably be in a better position to advise as to at least the rough plan of where the footpath's going. Am I correct?
Yes.
If you're happy with that. So I think she said they're meeting tomorrow. They're hoping to resolve it relatively expeditiously. So I'm sure the Technical Services Director will update us if you're happy with that.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry, councillor.
You're right. Reading this is, we do nothing until we get a grant for the active transport strategy. I can't see myself why we can't use one of our internal staff to come up with a bit of a push forward to where this is needed in respect to, if we don't get the grant, well, we don't get any information. We've got Oberon, Black Springs, O'Connell, Edith, and it's, I don't think it's rocket science that some of our internal staff should be able to go and do some basic reporting on this.
So I might be wrong, and I'll ask the acting general manager. I think the idea is that we go out for a grant. If we don't get that, then he'll come back to us and say, right, we haven't got the grant. Do we want to move ahead of this and fund it ourselves? What other avenues are there?
And it doesn't read like that, does it?
Well,
Now, through the chair, internal staff can do an initial assessment on the current plan, but the active transport strategy is quite all encompassing. There's a consultation component, there's projects, designs, all sorts of things. I wouldn't believe we would have the internal expertise to put that together. So we would need to either, have some outside funding to do that, either by a grant, or if not, we can put some budget allocation to it, which we'd have to come back to council to seek for it to do so.
so I think the issue is that it will seek to get if we don't get the grant, then we'll have to look at alternate methods. You happy with that, Councillor McCarthy? I mean, it doesn't.
Yeah, look, I see the active transport thing and yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm also concerned about building this path that has no bridge. If the bridge was there, I'd support the thing holus bolus. But I understand and I see what the children and I presented, which is great, but I think that's why the buses are being provided to transport the kids. And with the required to maybe provide more recreation ground, I inquired to Paul Toole to see whether there's been any impact from the school to secure more ground for recreation purposes when Paddy Gore's place, which is next door, come up for sale, and there's no representation from the school. I was really disappointed, but yeah, look, I'm just concerned about a path to nowhere, but I'll support this anyway.
Thank you. All right, I put the motion. All in favour?
The amendment is.
Oh, it's the amendment. Sorry, I put the amendment. All in favour of the amendment? Carried unanimously. So the amendment now becomes a motion. All in favour of the motion? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 10.6 is the Black Springs Recreation Reserve. And the motion is a council remove blackberry and woody weed infestation at Black Springs Recreation Reserve. Councillor Hayden. You moving it? Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Tucker. Thank you, Councillor Hayden.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose and background and reasoning have been drafted out within the motion's reasoning there. There is support from the Black Springs Community Association in regards to the maintenance of the back of that reserve. If other councillors have been out there, I do know that some councillors have been out and inspected the weeding station. It's quite severe. You can't walk through there. You have to follow some of the slasher tracks. But it is a huge impact and a huge impost also to the forestry land that had been maintained over the previous 5-year period. So as you'll read through there, I've addressed the criteria and the letter of support is attached from the Black Springs Community Association, and further, as per the General Manager's note, Forestry Corporation are happy to work in with council. I do note that they are currently out spraying their section of the forestry reserve as we speak. That is a yellow bell frog habitat. So that is a protection zone out there for that species, which forestry are quite aware of as well. And yeah, it is as it is. Thank you.
Seconder. Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it's the sort of thing that probably doesn't technically need a motion and a resolution. It's maintenance of a council asset that could happen as a matter of course. It could perhaps have just been done with a request coming in from the council, but this is also a legitimate way to do it, and I'm happy to support.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Hayden, I note the funding you're saying is there's a grant opportunity, and I note that the General Manager's comment, and then you'd be looking at Parks and Gardens maintenance budget. Have we any idea, acting General Manager, as to what this is likely to cost?
through the chair, we, in readiness for the grant, application under weeds, we are looking to pursue that, which it closes on the 22nd of November. So we are, just awaiting quotes to come back from the contractor, for that particular reserve, and also, the reef reserve that we are looking to, put forward under this grant program. So I don't have a costing for you, but, that will be coming very shortly. The only thing, other comment I would say again on this is that this grant program is not announced till May 25. So there is quite some lead time, and, Crown grants can be quite difficult, to secure. So there is a decent lead time if council wishes to source this particular problem via a grant mechanism that needs to be, taken into consideration.
I'm just aware that it is a significant infestation, as Councillor Hayden has indicated. If we're waiting to May 2025, we'll be exacerbating the problem by then. But if we're going to wait for grant funding, we've got, and these things slip. So if it slips into July, we can't be spraying raspberries in June, July. So
Been waiting 5 years.
So we're happy to. Okay. All right. Could I suggest, if I could, and maybe with the consent of the mover and the seconder, that number one is as read, but two, if council is not successful in its grant application, that the matter come back to council with the stated amount for what it, or an estimate as to what it's going to cost. Because it may be that at that stage we decide it shouldn't come out of the parks and gardens because it's too much of an impost, and we might have to look at another source. That's the only reason I'm suggesting it. Councillor Hayden and Councillor Tack, are you happy with that?
Well, only if we're not going to know about the grant until May, I would have thought that was too long a delay. I would have thought this was something that needs to happen more quickly, or the problem just gets bigger and gets out of hand.
Oh, well, that's exactly right. But I did ask Councillor Hayden.
If I may add.
Yes.
I have been requesting this. I've done a councillor request form in relation to the weeds, 2 years and whatever ago. And I've also requested this in previous consultation meetings with Black Springs reports and so on. So it has been a topic that's been going for quite some period of time, and it's just getting worse and worse. So for the last 5 years, nothing's happened. So I do apologise to have to bring it forward, but to get something actioned, I think we've now got to do this through the proposal in the body of this motion. It talks about assessment and planning and implementation. I'm happy if anyone wants to amend anything and request a report with some costings and figures. So,
Could I suggest? Sorry, I might I might satisfy your time. I'm saying the costings are going to be coming back by December for whatever goes in the grant, so that at the December meeting we would also a report be brought back on what the costing would be to do this. And then we can either make an assessment that we go ahead whether or not the grant funding is obtained, or that we will then know how much, and then we can make a determination if the grant is unsuccessful, that we can take it, that we'll find funding in this source. But at least that gives us some options then, but it means we push ahead with the grant, at least we get a quote as to what it's going to cost us.
So
Are you happy with that?
Well, on minor amendment, are we saying that a report be provided to the December meeting detailing the cost to remove blackberry and woody weeds?
Yes.
At this station.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that if the mover is.
I want to make a point that leaving the delay is not going to be that much of an position, because the soil seed bank is going to be exorbitant at the moment. Also, including in the grant funding application, then will need to be at least 5 years of follow-up control and competitive pasture sowing. There's a whole range of things. If you really want to eradicate it, it's bigger than just one spray event.
Yeah, holistic is better, but how much growth we can get with grasses under those trees, I don't know. They're pretty together. And we've also advised, if I could, we've also advised the Black Springs community that any spraying could have the unintended consequences of killing some trees and suckers. So they've been advised of that. All right, so I'll just put this up. If the mover and the seconder are happy about that.
So we're removing number one, and that just becomes a single motion on its own, and I'm happy to.
Well, do we not, are we going to put an application into the grant anyway? Because if we are, I think we need to include that and this be included in.
Well, that can be part of the report.
Through the chair, we will submit a grant application.
All right, for this. Are you happy with that?
I'm happy with that. I'll just write a reply if it's.
Are you happy with that?
I am happy with that.
All right, right reply.
Yeah, just to write a reply in relation to the grant. I've done a lot of research on that grant. I understand that the Reef Reserve does need to have its own separate grant. Can't put combined grants for weed application through this Crown Lands grant. Each application has to be a separate application. So this is priority. Otherwise, it's just going to continue and it's going to continue to get worse. 6 years I've been out there watching this and it is really, really bad. And I would suggest other councillors, if they do get some time, go and have a look because you can't walk through there and it is severe.
Thank you, councillor Hayden, but I have done my best to support you.
Thank you.
In writing to
You
the
don't need
Community
an
Association of Forestry. Thank you. All right, any further discussion on this matter? I put the motion as written. All in favour? Unanimously carried. Thank you. We go to councillors and delegates reports 11. 11.1 is the Oberon Arts Council meeting of the 19th September. The recommendation is the council receive and note the delegates report to the Oberon Arts Council meeting held on 19th September 2024. Could I have a motion, please? Thank you. And that follows the recommendation.
Yeah.
Councillor Graham, thank you. A seconder, please. Councillor Trembar. Councillor Graham.
I don't think I need to expand very much. You can all read the report and the minutes. But what you might like to know is that the drumming sessions are proceeding. If anyone would like to join in, you're welcome to go to the opening of the festival.
Fantastic.
Thank you. I read it and I did note that the drumming was coming back. And it was quite an event last year, but it was great. But thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this matter? If not, I put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. 12, committee reports nil. 13, reports for decision. 13.1, Rural Fire Services Oberon Station. The recommendation is that council provide in principle support to the New South Wales RFS to allow for a grant application to be prepared for the construction of a new fire station. 2, delegate authority to the general manager to negotiate the land area required to adequately assist the lodgement of a grant application. Yeah. Now, I do note that if you go to, just before I have a mover and a seconder, if you go to page 21 and about halfway down, there's a figure of 100,000 actually is missing a zero. It should be 1 million. All right, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Hayden. Seconder, please. Councillor McCarthy. Councillor Hayden.
Before you go further, what governs the $1 million? Because the last lot of land we sold, we only sold for
All right, well,
no, I'm just saying, on file, the land we sold to Peter Ison was $300. Why has it gone from 300 to 1,000? It's the same ground, it was the same purchase, it's the same ground. So what's impacted it to go for that much? And we
do
have,
you want to move it and second it, and then you ask that question as part of your seconding?
well, I've seconded.
Well, wait on with you. Can you speak to it, please?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the mover, I think you'll find that the land vested in the vicinity for $1 million is for the build of their facility and their in-kind contribution to us giving land. I think that's what that is in relation to, is it not, if I may ask the chair to our acting general manager?
Well, I'll ask, yeah, I will ask that, but maybe if you go that, then Councillor McCarthy seconds it. I will then ask the general manager to comment on that. Good. Is that anything else on that one?
No, I just wanted to say that I support this. The RFS station upgrade. I'm wondering if I could get a brief, can't add a brief word or two into point 2 of this motion, where it says delegate the authority to the general manager to negotiate the land area required. I'm just wondering if that should say delegate authority to the general manager to negotiate the land and then provide a report to council before approval.
I think that's valid.
I think that should be a discussion with councillors as to the determination of the specific land that is being decided upon. So it would be
So
just
if
amending
you're
point 2.
proposing the motion as per the recommendation with a slight amendment, could you read out what you're intending to do, please?
Yes, delegate authority to the general manager to negotiate the land area required and provide the report back to council for determination.
And he's,
So the-
and he's striking out assist with the grant application.
No. I'm just doing it slowly. So, and the council to make the decision to assist the lodgement of the grant application, because councillors need to have some input into what land is being chosen.
All right, I've got a couple of questions for the general manager when we get acting general manager, we get to that, but I'll deal with that in a minute. Councillor McCarthy,
The ground that was.
are you happy with that change?
Yes, at the moment. Yeah. The ground that was envisaged is possibly next to the national parks over on the industrial side. We own it. It's the last, like I said, the last lot of ground was sold for $300 a square metre, not the $1,000. Anyway, but we retain this asset. Well, if it's going to be a fire station, we'll own it. Rural Fire Service own nothing. So it's our ground. So the report, I don't know where you get a grant application for your own land to refund your own ground.
All right.
But in allowing the Rural Fire Service to go out and stand in line for theirs, you have to have land provided. So the idea was that we provide this 1 hectare of ground or whatever it is, and that's to allow for the heliport next to the National Parks heliport and all the rest of it. It's got a transformer out the front, so it's not something probably a developer would really want. And like I said, we own that asset, our own asset. They don't want to use. They think it's fallen down and wet and all the rest. Yeah, I could describe what I think of them, but we've got to go down the path of updating. We've got to have training rooms. On the weekend, there was nothing but train. We got to get realistic. This is the new Rural Fire Service.
All right, I want to ask the general manager, acting general manager, a couple of things. With the proposed change by councillor Hayden and councillor McCarthy, is this likely to delay the lodgement of the grant application?
Through the chair, I think that, like with a lot of these grant applications, in principle commitment is required. It's a commitment that, through that process of grant application, there's many moments where council will get an opportunity to do, what councillor Hayden and others are talking about. They will need to submit, they will need to accept the deed, they will need to come back to us. So in a hasty grant application, I understand the RFS would be coming for a blanket commit from council to nominate a component of land. Something like this may delay the application. The other component of that is that the in-kind in a grant sense is generally done at commercial rates, with a variety of other things that bump up into in-kind. And they'll be using that to justify, the grant amount that they are seeking. So that's how the general manager has calculated that rate as in kind. So that's essentially how this process would work. So by doing this, we may not allow them to submit the grant application in time, which I believe is quite a short time frame.
That's the question I was asking.
Yeah.
And the second one is, we do retain ownership of the land once the building's on it, isn't it?
Yes, through the chair.
We're not donating the land or giving the land, so we retain ownership of the land, as I understand it, so it would be in kind. Is there a formal lease or license on land?
That I'm not sure. I'll have to take that in notice.
Okay. Because I have a question in the halfway down page. So it says the question for council to consider establishment of the land, and then it says to be vested with RFS.
Yep. So dedicated as an in-kind.
So we're saying we retain ownership, but then we're saying in this paper it's vested in the RFS. So I just need want some clarification on that. Because if it's in-kind contribution of 100,000, but we were $1 million, sorry, but we retain ownership, that's one thing. But if we're actually vesting it in the RFS and we're giving away $1 million, if that's then it might be a different scenario. I'm not sure. I'm just asking a couple of questions to, I think, which might assist with this or not assist probably with the discussion. But thank you, Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I can help to clarify that difference between 100,000 and $1 million, because I asked the question of the General Manager yesterday.
Thank you.
Because we previously determined that the sale price for land at the industrial subdivision. Sorry?
Is commercial.
Commercial in confidence.
Sorry,
Just
I apologise.
that.
But all right, but
You need to resolve to take it as close council.
Would we like to resolve to move this into confidential quickly if we want this discussion?
well, no, I will leave that part of the explanation in that case.
All right.
But just noting that it is $1 million, not 100,000, as you said, Mr. Mayor. And to my mind, I don't think it makes any difference if council retains ownership or if it's vested in RFS. It is still $1 million that we were expecting to receive, or that we might have received in income, which we will no longer receive if we have allocated it for that purpose. So I was also concerned about the wording of number 2, certainly not number 1, support for the RFS, that's like supporting motherhood. But number 2, I wasn't clear whether negotiating the land area, whether that simply meant talking to them and say, okay, we'll set aside this parcel of land, and if you get your approval to go ahead with the project, then we'll start talking about sale price. If that's the case, that's fine. But I was concerned that it might have been, or that it might have been read as, yep, the land is yours for that purpose without it coming back to council. So I appreciate the change that Councillor Hayden has made, that we need a report to come back to council, including the potential lost income if we were to sell it to someone else.
So a quick, I can ask the acting general manager. We have a extraordinary meeting coming up on the 26th.
That's what I was concerned.
Acting gentleman, we have an extraordinary meeting. Yes. I'm assuming that we would consider this then, that if we had a report back on the at least identify the land we're indicating, that we would still be within time frame for the grant.
Through the chair, I'm not 100% familiar with the grant application, the grant fund that they are seeking, but if that's the case, we will endeavour to bring something back to the 26th and work within the timeframes that they have. So if that's what council would like to do, we can absolutely do that. Yeah.
Just trying to clarify a couple.
I just wanted, could I add something then?
Yes.
As I'm aware that it states there to provide in principle, so you're providing in principle support. We can still provide in principle support to the RFS. And the other is to negotiate land. That may be up later. What we're supplying to them in the first instance is a letter of support, and to say, yes, we support that. And then the other part 2 isn't going to upset their grant application by the looks as to how it's written.
Yeah, through the chair, general grant applications I've seen can have a very broad in principle support, that the language can be watered down to, the council would seek to support or something like that, if council were able to do something that in the interim, and then we could review the grant timeframe, and if we need to bring something back to the next meeting on the 26th, we could do so. So we could, but as I mentioned before, there would be many many mechanisms between now and the grant actually being confirmed, where council would have a need to determine the land prior to signing deed. There's lots of things that would happen in that space, but that would be how we could progress that if at this point in time, and we could look to bring something back on the 26th to confirm if you would like to do something a bit more broad in that nature.
So in 2, delegate authority to general manager, aren't we talking about to identify the parcel of land required? Is it negotiate the land area?
That would be a much better word.
I think identify the parcel of land.
Maybe they're talking about how much land area.
Yeah, well, that's part of it when you identify it, but you need to say it's going to be there and it's going to be this big. That's why I'm just changing the wording slightly. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I understood it as being both.
Councillor McCarthy? Yeah. So,
Identify.
Much better.
And I believe negotiate the land area from the general manager's perspective was to have a further conversation about how much land was required and the suitability of which parcel of land.
well, identify the parcel of land and the area of the land required. If you like to say that, I think it's a little bit more specific.
And through the chair, they have not, in their letter, have not identified the grant fund they actually targeting. So we may need to clarify that.
Yeah, 6 or 12 months then.
Yeah, and I think they may be taking a longer term approach. So
A couple of years.
So are you happy with that, councillor Hayden?
Said 4 to 5 years, I think, in their letter.
Yeah,
No.
two years, I think it's.
Oh, okay.
Are you happy with that? Councillor McCullough?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. What you got to understand is with the Rural Fire Service, they just want to identify that some land available. If this gets a Guernsey, they envisage that the fire shed wouldn't be started till even 2032.
Right.
But they want to just have an indication that we're going to supply the site, that's all.
Right. Well, this should get to where we want to do, I think, want to get to. All right, any further discussion on this matter? Councillor Tucker, you looking at it?
Yes, I'm a lot happier with that, because I don't think that can in any way be construed to mean that we say that land's yours.
Yes. All right.
Should we
Councillor
include the report back to the extraordinary meeting 26th of November?
Well, I think if you put it 3, if you want to, if necessary, a report will be provided to December.
November.
The extraordinary meeting on the 26th of November, if a decision is required by council in order to support the grant application. Is that what you would look like?
Yeah, I think that is.
Are you happy with that, councillor? Hey, yes, thank you. Sorry to put words in your mouth. I'm just trying to make it.
It's all good.
Thank you.
We would like our meetings to progress council.
Yes. All right.
Right.
Could it be necessary for the grant application? Well, it's better to get it right than get it wrong.
We're doing one.
You happy with that?
Yep, no.
And we'll leave it general then. Leave it general, I think. Yeah, right. Okay. You happy with what's stated there? Happy? All right, I put the motion. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thanks. Go to 13.2. Playground risk assessment further report. The recommendation is that council endorse the options recommended for repairs and upgrades to individual playgrounds as highlighted in the options table of the report. 2, consider the allocation of 144,000 into future financial years to address the remaining issues at Cunningham Oval Park and the Common Fence Playground. The mover, please.
I have a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Alternate, yes.
No, it's not an alternative.
Oh, you have a motion. Do I have a motion that follows the recommendation or another motion?
A different motion.
Different motion, thank you.
And I've provided it to Sharon earlier.
That's nice.
So might just give a moment for people to read it before I speak to it. Or before I move it. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Not until there's a second.
Well, just hold on a second.
It's not.
All right, you're going to speak to that. Do you have a seconder?
If there's a seconder, I will.
Councillor Hayden. Right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm open to changes to this. This is just what I've come up with today. And my purpose is a couple of fold. One is to try to make sure that the money that we currently have available in the TR Legacy Fund and the other extra small amount goes as far as it possibly can towards upgrading parks and eliminating any safety risks. And secondly, tries to keep those parks that have been recommended for closure. I'm not comfortable with that. I understand that we have to make sure that they're not being used and they're not a hazard in the meantime, but trying to make sure that we've got the best chance of some of that money being sufficient to do whatever is required to retain those other parks that are currently listed to be removed. So I know there's been a bit of to and fro over the last 6 months about this, and I get the impression from the report there's a suggestion that council has done something wrong and has created a liability by not removing those playgrounds originally. I don't accept that. I think we did the right thing in agreeing that they needed to be barricaded off and preventing any use in the meantime. The only thing we perhaps did wrong was not include that point in our original resolution, but they have been barricaded off. I've noticed that the swings, for example, have been removed from the frame, so there's no liability if no one can use it. And if we were to simply go ahead and remove playgrounds without any consideration to if they could be repaired or if we can find enough money to replace them, I think that we would have got a significant community reaction. And if the recommendation that's in this report was adopted, meaning that 4 or 5 parks would be closed, I still think there would be a significant community reaction. I am pleased in the report to see that there is a serious effort to come up with a strategic approach. So looking at the different classifications of playgrounds and what their catchment areas would be and what distance people have to walk, all that is good. But there are a couple of those that are listed for closure where I think any kids in those areas would then have a significant walk to get to a playground, and just to provide something in their local vicinity, I think would be a good thing. So I have tried wherever I can. I'll go through them briefly, one at a time. Glenda Avenue North, I agree with closing that. That park is listed to be developed for some units anyway, and there are other playgrounds nearby. And from what I've heard from other councillors, I think there's general agreement that we don't need that playground there.
Hassel Park, I sent an email today to the general manager because my understanding has always been that Hassel Park, including the playground and including the shelter, the whole of that rest area is part of the RMCC. It's maintained by us under contract to Transport for New South Wales. So if the playground needs upgrading, I believe it is their asset and up to them to fund it. But I'm suggesting that we talk to them. Well, we check if I'm right, firstly, and if I am right, that we talk to Transport for New South Wales about funding to upgrade and remove any safety hazards. The playgrounds at Black Springs and Burriga, well, we can't do any upgrades using the TI fund because they are outside the TI area, but the dollar figures are relatively small. So I'm suggesting that be done out of the maintenance budget. Similarly, the softball, I see that as a routine maintenance activity. It gets done, or it should get done from time to time regardless. I think the TI Legacy Fund is really for improvements, so I don't think the softball is part of improvements. It is just maintenance. So by moving some of those expenditures out of this program, I am very hopeful that we can get most or all of the town parks upgraded in accordance with the recommendations to ensure they are safe. So I'm suggesting we start with the ones that were recommended in the report. So present Cunningham Oval, Herb David, the Common and the Pool Playground. And I'm hopeful that with moving some of that other expenditure, we may still have enough money left over to start work on Armstrong and Bly and Linda. And there was a fourth one as well. I think.
It's just
and this also. So that was the purpose of this motion. I'm happy to consider any changes that others put forward. But yes, it's to try and get as much done as possible and to keep our playgrounds open or available to be opened as soon as we get some more money. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That's Glendower Avenue South, I take it in 6.
Yes, it is on the next line.
Okay, sorry. Here we go.
Second.
So you're finished? All right.
Finished. Thank you, Mr.
Yes, thank you, Councillor.
Yes, I would like to, through the chair, thank Councillor Tucker for his alternative or his motion that he's put forward. This has been a little contentious. There has been some community angst around these parks. As some of our new councillors may not be aware, we have some middle class to poor socioeconomic areas where some of these parks will impact severely on the children that live within those areas. Some of the people in those areas do not have a car to drive to any other centralised park. These parks have been there since late 40s, 50s, 60s, and some of the maintenance that has been lacking has been quite severe, and this is one of the reasons that these parks have deteriorated to a degree. Councillor Relebris and myself went around the parks on Friday, I think it was, and had a look at everything, so he was familiar and aware of where they were located. So the 6 substantial parks that were listed for decommissioning was actually taking out everything and putting them back to grass, which that takes away from those 4-year-old children, 6-year-old children that get to walk along the street and to go to the park, which is in their residential areas. So once again, thank you to Councillor Tucker for having this done, and I support it fully.
Further discussion, Councillor Trimble.
I'm so glad we've got the report done because I think it's actually sort of gives us quite a good overview of where we stand with all our playgrounds, and it's something that we will use for quite a while. And that my question to Chair to Councillor Tucker is: have you redone the cost estimate document that we got?
Yeah.
Because even I saw Hassel Park, and I was saying, it was like, if 3,350 is taken out, and a number of the other things that you suggested here, I mean, where do we actually sit on with your recommendation? I know it's a bit of I would like to see that, and maybe if it comes back to the 26, because I feel uncomfortable barricading kids' parks, because kids don't understand. There's no communication with them. There's a big barrier around it as opposed to a bare park. And I know there's people who have commented to me as well. There's a couple in here in this list that they would not be happy if it was gone. And I think as council, somehow we've got to be able to communicate why we're doing this and what's the benefit, safety and whatever. But I would like to see that document redone with what you're suggesting to see where we actually fall. And I agree, like the Burrago and Black Springs, it's like tiny money, so you should just do it, that fits, regardless of where it comes from.
So I might ask the acting general manager, if one of the suggestions is obviously take the softball and put that into the parks and gardens maintenance, what effect will that have on the parks and gardens maintenance fund on a yearly basis or?
Through the chair, that resolution that Councillor Tuck's talking about to move those into parks and gardens. That particular budget, obviously this time of year is under reasonable strain with different mowing and all that sort of thing, different things happening. But I think the Black Springs and Burrago, we are supportive of that. I think that they can be carried into that operational budget. We'll also get be getting a fully budget review in next week as well to highlight where those budgets are at. So yeah, that would be the only area that we could fund that, and so we would have to look at the strain that it's currently under, because there's lots of requirements and priorities on that particular budget as it currently sits, but it's not some of those can be taken as operational. The other comment would be that as Councillor Tucker has put these great suggestions forward, some of them itemising bits out of those would sort of change some of the numbers that are currently presented. So we'd have to, very difficult for us to provide them tonight how that currently falls.
So that
We can see it.
Yeah, that my comment is, I think probably there'd be some support for Councillor Tucker's resolution, but we actually don't see where the finances is falling. This amount would go to parks and gardens, and it's supported. Or what do we have to surrender in parks and gardens to do the softball, for instance? And where do the others, what have we got left at the bottom that's not covered by the TI fund or the grant to the common?
And through the parks and gardens budget is targeted for weed spraying and a whole variety of things, and so it is, there is a limit to what it can carry.
Yes, Councillor Cole.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. As a new councillor, I thought this was a wonderful report and try to get an overview. Councillor Tucker's amendment has confused me terribly. And we've gone straight for the money rather than go through the report and understand the mechanics of the report. So from a new councillor's point of view, I would probably prefer to work through the issues before the money, and so I can get a better understanding. But I thought the report was fantastic.
So Councillor Tucker, Clive.
I'll
Sorry,
wait for a
Councillor
while
Carter.
to reply in that case.
You talking?
Yeah, I'd like to know from the general manager or acting general manager why these parks haven't been maintained in the past. And if you go to some of them, I went to the bottom one in Windermere Avenue today, and I see the digger is still mechanically sound, it's just the centre post. And that's stood the test of time, that little digger, something like you'd have in your own backyard. And I can't understand why the swings just can't be reinstated. So I think someone's got a gold tooth in this report and the amount of money, and why the reportee wasn't told that the one in Gwenda Avenue up the top was being not to be kept as a park. Why wasn't that person briefed on that? Would have saved in visiting the site and reporting on it.
Well, we have been through this previous meetings, Councillor McCarthy, and we, after technical service, we've managed to go back and reevaluate, come back with a report. Obviously, Eric also raised the issue about safety and other concerns and liability for councillors. So that's part of the reason we went to get an independent report. And obviously we may have views in relation to whether the digger is suitable or not and what can be done, but we have a liability issue for council staff, councillors and council staff and council as a whole. So we have to be cognizant of an independent report prepared, and that was highlighted to us in the ARIC report that was earlier this year. That's why we got an independent report. We face difficult circumstances if we don't take cognizance of that independent report.
I understand that, but you must understand when that equipment went in, that equipment is of that standard.
Yes.
And that equipment wouldn't be there except it's that standard. And you see that some of the other places like the Assel Park and that, some of the later equipment doesn't survive. I just think that some of these prices that are submitted here to remove the one at Windermere Avenue, $1,500 to remove the two swings. It's just unbelievable. And like I say, the one up at Armstrong, what's that? It's just the seat that's broken up there, the rubber seat. Surely to goodness we can go down to Will's Tyre Service and ask him for a second-hand tyre and cut it in half. It's the kids. Did Eric think of the kids?
Yes, they were
having a good time.
And that's one of the things that was discussed at that ARIC meeting, and the availability of playgrounds for children to use. But they're also, obviously, because of ARIC and the nature of ARIC, it has to also consider liability issues.
Okay, well, I'd like to see the report that Bathurst City Council gets as a neighbouring council on the one in Lambert Street, because like I highlighted before, the monkey bars up there are older than me, and they're still there.
Councillor Tucker.
Right for reply if everyone else is finished.
Does anyone else want to talk? Because we have this amendment.
It's not an amendment.
Sorry, it's an alternate motion.
It's that motion.
It is the motion, yes. Anyone else?
Right, thank you, Mr. Ned. Well, firstly, in response to Councillor Tremba, no, I haven't actually gone through to say, all right, if we move those things, if we don't include this park, and if we do the softball out of maintenance, that means we can do all this stuff. But I do know it'll go a lot further towards upgrading and being able to retain those parks that were listed for closure. Exactly how much further, I'm not quite sure. In relation to the softball, certainly in my time, it was always just a part of routine maintenance to top up and rate the softball. That was part of Parks and Gardens maintenance. Now, I don't think it is right for that cost to now be pushed over into the TI Legacy Fund. I think that fund is for upgrades. So I've got no problem with using it for replacing old equipment which is no longer meet compliant and causing a risk. But to use that money for what should be routine maintenance, I do have a problem with. So if that does put excess pressure on the Parks and Gardens budget, I'd be quite happy to see a report come back explaining that, well, we haven't been doing this in the past, and, but now if we're going to have to do it out of Parks and Gardens maintenance, we need some more money. If that's what they say, well, so be it. But I just repeat, traditionally, that's where that work was done from. It was treated as operational and maintenance. And just in relation to ARIC, I'd just like to mention that ARIC's initial concern was that they were under the impression that council were just leaving these old non-compliant playgrounds going because there was nothing in the resolution to explain that they were going to be closed off and decommissioned or barricaded off in the meantime until we were able to upgrade them.
So once that was explained, they were a lot more comfortable and they recognised that that was going to protect staff and councillors by preventing usage of those efficient playgrounds.
So councillor Tucker, whilst, what?
That was his right of reply. Mr Mayor, please put the motion.
My concern is we haven't got a costings. I would like to see a report on the costings.
It's hard to enact these.
Why do that?
as council.
We have to put, we need to see the costings. I mean, I think that I have no problem with it, but I would like to.
Right, is it too late for me to add a number 7 asking for a further report on costings? Is it, can I do that?
Practice.
Do you support that as a seconder? That we have a costings report?
No, I call a point of order under the code of meeting practice that we've had a motion, an alternate, well, another motion move. The motion is as it is. We can discuss that later if something comes back to council. The right of reply has been done by councillor Tucker, Mr Mayor.
Through the chair, so the difficulty we're just discussing here is
there's no costings.
There's no costings associated to this. It's very hard to enact this as it currently sits.
We have a costings on a sheet here that differs from
That's changed. We aren't sure.
Our costings will be better than what's on that sheet. That's
Mr
not.
Mayor, can I call a recess?
Recess before the motion. Well, we can put the motion, but put the motion. But all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Put the motion. All in favour? 2, 3, 4. Those against? We don't have a foreshadowed motion, so backwards.
Before recess.
Yeah.
This is over in council.
This is just, Mr Mayor, this should have been discussed before the right of reply.
And I could prepare a notice of motion
I think, yeah.
for the next meeting with a number 7 added to it.
Yes.
Mr Mayor, that can go through into urgent. If you want to do urgent business, can councillor Tucker bring
let's
something
keep-
back through to that?
I was going to call a recess at 8:30 for a break, if we get there.
No, Need a break now.
No, let's go home.
What's
The
people?
staff may need a break as well. They've been here all day.
I think keep going.
I'm happy to take it.
We're going till 8:30, okay? So we now go to 13.4, where's 13.3?
13.3.
13.3, Breast Green Mobile Van Transport Subsidy. The recommendation is that council supports the Breast Green New South Wales mobile van visit by transporting the van from Gulgong to Oberon. 2, sources of plant hire cost from the community services budget. Have a mover, please. Councillor McCarthy, seconder, please. Councillor Tucker. Councillor McCarthy.
These are health services provided to the community, but I do understand that you can get this service, just walk in and off the street and get it, but anyway, that's provided out here.
Councillor Tucker.
Nothing to add, Mr Mayor, thank you.
Councillor Tremblay.
I support providing the support as it's really important to our community, and not everyone can get back as we have older population. And during COVID, this breast screening was something that just got lost and it didn't happen. So it's very important that we do it. My only issue around it, and just is making a comment, is our community already pay taxes to the government for health services, and now we're having to use ratepayers' money to provide this service. So really what we should be doing, but in consideration of the lack of health services that we really do have in this community, this one is a very important one for women and elderly women in particular.
All right.
So that's why I support it.
Further discussion?
I'd just like to make a comment, Mr Mayor, in going through the pre-polling, and meeting a lot of the residents, the demographic of Oberon, certainly crying out for this service. So I support it.
I'd like to speak against it. I don't support it at all. I would never use, will not, have never, and no intention of. And we have the facilities available for anyone to actually have them done by their GP and by a Baptist, and I don't support it. I don't support having to supply funds to a government organisation, and that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a mover, me.
Yeah.
Yes, you're the mover.
No, I just look for you write a reply. That's
Would you
all.
like to write a reply?
Yes. Mr. Mayor, I had a lady in Oberon that was on this breast screening van, and several times when we spoke to her, she's at Broken Hill, all over the place. So this is a facility that's good, flexible, and goes around the community. And I think we should support it. The only thing in the report, we don't have to take it back to go along, do we? It's only to bring it here and then someone else takes it. Yeah.
All
No,
right.
thank you.
Okay, I put the motion. All in favour? All in favour, councillor Hayden against. 13.4, Oberon council fees and charges, mixed builders waste charges. Recommendation is the council place the proposed mixed builders waste fee of 110 per cubic metre on public exhibition for 28 days, and submissions be invited during that period. 2, if no submissions are received from the exhibition period, the proposed fee be adopted as presented. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Hayden.
Could I amend part 1 of that motion to actually put some weight in there as well as cubic metre, dependent upon what builder's waste is. Mixed builder's waste could contain any number of different items in mixed builder's waste. Could be bricks, could be concrete, could be timber, could be asbestos, it could be whatever. So we do have a per cubic metre costing there, but I would actually like to see a tonnage rate there, so that if it goes over the weighbridge, that weight is going to be referred to in that recommendation. 1 cubic metre of bricks is going to be a lot different to 1 cubic metre of crappy timber or plastic or a bit of aluminium.
Fine, councillor Hayden, there is a comment down there at 2/3 of the way down, page 37, in relation to.
Good portion of that we put into part 1, so that is listed in the recommendation, not just in the commentary.
Well, it's saying.
But that won't be the recommendation in the end, if you understand what I mean. We can all refer to the comments in something, but for the specific recommendation, if we have to refer to it down the track, we need that specific recommendation.
So your alternate or your motion is, if I could, as per the recommendation 1, but adding the words, noting that 1 tonne of builder's waste typically weighs 1 tonne or something. Is that what you want to put in?
Well,
I'm a little
I
confused.
need the weight listed in there as well as the
Well, we don't have a weighbridge in place at the moment.
We've got a weighbridge going in there, so this motion, rather than bringing it back to council when the weighbridge is operating, because someone goes through there with 1 cubic metre, it's squared of bricks, and then come back to us and say, 1 cubic metre, you haven't written the tonnage, so I'm paying per metre.
I'll just ask the acting general manager and the technical services director to comment on this.
Through the chair, so the fee structure as it currently sits, does have,
well, we probably need a second. Do you have a second if you motion? Seconder?
I'm not clear what the.
Oh, I'm moving the whole thing, but I just want to have some tonnage wrote in there against metre, because $110 per cubic metre of asbestos isn't the same as 110 in a tonnage rate is the issue when Weybridge is operable.
Mr Mayor, we have a separate rate for asbestos.
That's right.
What we're talking
Doesn't
about.
asbestos is
I'm not
outside.
talking about that. I'm talking about the cubic meter. You're giving a price of $110 per cubic meter. So if there is a cubic meter of
Right, just hold on.
stick builders
You
waste,
have a seconder?
I've got a second here.
Councillor Alevers, right. You've talked on it, I think, so do you want to talk on it?
No.
I was going to ask the acting general manager to comment on the issue.
I don't understand.
Through the chair, in the fees and charges, there is some weighbridge component fees that have been included in the initial fees and charges. Those categories of mixed waste, commercial, mixed waste, domestic, etc. So there is some allowance to capture those weighbridge transactions if they occur and the weighbridge goes in a relatively short amount of time. And at that time, if those fees are not capturing that as well, then we could also, do that, bring back a similar review on the weighbridge. But there is some weighbridge fees in the structure already ready to go for the weighbridge.
I'm trying to be proactive with what I'm mentioning because I don't think you're understanding how it reads and how the public perceive how it reads. When the weighbridge is operable and a cubic metre of bricks, 1 cubic metre of bricks at $110 per cubic metre goes over that weighbridge and you're going to try and charge them a tonnage rate, they will argue that this says per cubic metre. Okay, that's what I'm trying to clarify. The same mixed builders waste could be just loose aluminium off a gutter, and a cubic metre of loose aluminium guttering is not going to weigh the same as a cubic metre of bricks.
So do you want to add the words, this will not apply if the weighbridge is used to measure the
I
tonnage?
just want something to address the tonnage weight.
Through the chair, when these dual rates went out to the community, there was some correspondence communication in there that indicated that how that transition from tonnage to the weighbridge would happen. So that would be the course of action that they would transition to this new fee structure.
I do hear the acting general manager on this. I'm addressing the specific recommendation in the 2 parts there that do not refer to any tonnage weight. So that is all I'm addressing, not what has been done or what may be done in the future, just what is there in front of me. And when the weighbridge is operable, someone out in the general public is going to say at the council meeting, this is it and that's all I'm paying, regardless of what may be said now. I'm trying to cover a bit of our own back here as a council and for the community by putting something tonnage relating to the tonnage there.
So I'll just ask the acting general manager, do we need a statement to state that this rate will apply until the assessment of tonnage is undertaken using the weighbridge?
Yeah, through the chair,
I know we've got
in the
dual rate.
That's correct. And through some of the discussions that were raised during that there was some communication about how the transition would occur. We communicated that weighbridge would be used for data collecting and those types of things. So the current fee structure, the volume is what would be the default in this kind of scenario. The weighbridge fees would be something that would come in action into the next F1. So, yeah.
So are you saying?
So under this circumstance, that the council is that if someone turns up in this category, they'll be charged as per the cubic metre
For
rate.
$110 per cubic metre of bricks, even if we get a weighbridge, because that is what this resolution states. That's what the resolution says.
That's the nature of the current fee structure.
But it is anticipated the fee structure would change.
That's correct.
Sometime in the future. That's, I think what councillor Hayden and councillor Alevers is saying is happy with this, but should we allude to the fact that this may change in the future? Once the weighbridge is introduced and council reviews any tonnage rates or something like that, just to give us. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Through the chair, any of the category, any of the fee structures would have the same dilemma that we're currently, you know, we're
But we're not
volume
moving
on box
resolution
trailers.
for them.
they're all-
Councillor O'Connor?
This is a resolution.
So this fee structure, once the weighbridge is in place, this will be the document in terms of costing, yeah? So not cubic meters, just this, just tonnage, it's just.
Well, there is a bit of both at the moment.
You know, no, once the weighbridge is in.
Yes, but it'll be transitioned, you know, over the time. It won't happen, right, the weighbridge is in, we're starting to weigh people. It won't happen that day.
So the,
Well, that's what council has to work out.
They're not listening.
That's why, I think they're trying to allude that it could change when that occurs.
Is there a problem with just implementing the cost structure from day one?
There is, because we've told our community that we will transition in.
And collect data only.
And it's also a little uncertain as to when the weighbridge will actually be there, but we have said it will transition in because there was a lot of concern. So I think what councillors Hayden and Leveris are saying is maybe we should allude to the fact that this may change, could change in the future. Once the weighbridge is introduced, should council move to a tonnage rate? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, you would think that would be in the resolution.
So I don't have a problem putting something like that in. If you're suggesting, well, I mean, it's up to you, but if that's what you're saying, then I would suggest, yeah.
and through the chair, this resolution is to place this on public exhibition. So if the community feel that way, they would have 28 days to respond, and we would need to bring that back to council anyway.
So,
Well, what do you want to put? It is noted that this may change in the future. What if a tonnage rate is set once the weighbridge has been installed? Something. I don't know what you want to get.
we need to start addressing the fact that we're going to have a weighbridge and our
Yes.
waste is all changing.
Yeah.
It's changing. The weighbridge should have been placed in there last February, this
Yes.
February gone. We should have had the weighbridge. That's the fact. And we wouldn't have this dilemma, and we wouldn't be making resolutions that mention cubic meters and people are guessing how big something is in someone's thing. So we need to list either in part one, part two, or have another part on there that states in there that subject to weighbridge being bought online, that everything will then be by tonnage.
Well, it won't occur immediately.
Well, it will as soon as the weighbridge is there.
No.
Suggest
2 years on this.
through the chair, as part of this public exhibition process of this fee, council could reiterate some of those messaging around the transition on the weighbridge as part of that exhibition. That may help to.
Didn't we already do that last year? Remember when we had the exhibition of the waste transfer station, the fees, and then we had to revert back because then this was buggered up. Now the dollar amount on the other things are messed up, and now we're going back into this again. It's just going round in circles and not really getting anywhere.
So to try and get this resolved, are you suggesting that we add
We
between?
need to mention the weighbridge and tonnage rate.
If you let me finish, councillor Hayden. So are you suggesting that between 1 and 2, we put in, it should be noted in the exhibition period that any change could occur to the mixed builders waste with the introduction of the weighbridge and following the transition period.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
We put that as 2
Yeah.
and we make 2, 3. That's why I was asking for you to.
A new weighbridge. New fees and charges may apply when a new weighbridge is installed.
Yeah, but we're still, it's not going to occur immediately.
No, I know.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's why I'm referencing the transition period or something.
We really are. We're going to get closer.
Sorry, Sharon, did you get that? after Weybridge and following the transition period. Maybe it should say it should be noted, whilst when this is on public exhibition, that the change went on public exhibition. Right, are you happy with that, councillor Hayden?
Yes.
And councillor Leveris?
Yes.
Right. Councillor McCarthy?
Line 2 in the attachment, where did we get that information from?
Which attachment?
Well, in the report, list of attachments underneath, typical of builder's waste weighs approximately 1 tonne per litre. So where did we get that information from, saying we don't weigh it? Because if you recall, Mr Mayor, I asked David, what's her name, Basil, that builder's waste coming out in the big dump bins were coming over a Weybridge and could have reported back to council. So where did we get that information from? So there's 2 people who wrote the report, Daniel Bradshaw and the doctor. So where did we get that information from?
So the chair, our change management analyst, Danny Bradshaw, has done some extensive research on what the costs are and what the weights are, and taken that data from other areas, not from ours, because we don't weigh where it was available.
No, but where did you get the information that a tonne of builder's waste and a cubic of builder's waste?
Well, I think what the technical services director is, we did research for the other councils to see what they came up with, because we didn't have the information at hand, Oberon, we haven't got a Weybridge, so, Danny went to other councils to see what the comparison was, and that's where it came up with.
Yeah.
So we used.
Okay.
Or other data like EPA.
Any further discussion on this matter? Are you happy with those changes? You are, aren't you? Yes, I thought you said that. All right, any further discussion? If not, I put the motion as written in 3 parts. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 13.5, DA 10.2023.54.2, 2 Fleming Street Oberon, DCP variation front setback. The recommendation is that council vary part D for 1 building setback of its current DCP 2001 relation to development application DA 10.2023.54.2 for alterations to the depot construction of a shed at lot 30 in DP 740674, being known as 2 Fleming Street Oberon, and 2, a division be called in accordance with section 375A of the Local Government Act 1993. Could I have a motion, please?
I'm happy to move the recommendation as it sits, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Tucker, thank you.
No further conversation. The report, good report. Thank you. It speaks for itself and it's quite sensitive.
Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I think you'll barely notice it, especially given the colour-blind fence right in front of us.
Councillor McCarthy, did you have your hand up?
Yes, given the safety that Essential Energy goes on with, I'm just concerned about the colour-blind fence and the access and over the footpath, because it doesn't give them much of a view site, does it?
I'll ask the director of planning to comment on that, please.
I know it's the existing facility.
Through the chair, when you look at the site plan above, on page, mine's 41. On mine's 429. Identifies the location of what's proposed, and Essential Energy Code, that's, it fits within their requirements, so.
Yeah, look, I'm happy with it. I'm just concerned about there's no viewing going back towards the north when you exit the thing. And also the Essential Energy was asked many years to go over an industrial site and they refused to. So this in other areas, they have it in the industrial site, but in this particular one, they dug their heels in and said no, they wouldn't go over there. I think the council offered them the ground, but Anyway. Reports as it stands. Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? I put the motion, all in favour? Carried, I noticed Councillor Hayden has left the room temporarily, I suppose. We go to 13.6, State of the Shire report. Recommendation is that council notes the 2024 State of the Shire report as presented. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Tucker, thank you. As per the recommendation.
Yes, as per the recommendation.
Second, please. Councillor Trembath. Thank you, Councillor.
No comments or questions, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Any further discussion? I put the motion as per the recommendation. All in favour? Thank you. 13.7. Local Government Remuneration Tribunal 2025 review. The recommendation, I think it should read councillors, that councillors provide any comments relating to the Local Government Remuneration Tribunal review of mayoral and council fees to the General Manager by 10th December 2024 to allow time for a submission to be prepared. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Trembath, as per the recommendation. Councillor O'Grady, thank you. Councillor Trembath.
I have nothing to add. It's straightforward.
Councillor O'Grady.
By the template.
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this matter? 45. Sorry, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, very quick. Just my comments to what potentially be included in the submission is that I think it would be better if the tribunal simply set the fee rather than set a small range. It creates so much angst every time we've got to decide if we're going to add our fees up a little bit or down a little bit. Just set the fee for each category of council. I think would be better.
Are you preparing a submission?
Yes.
No, that will be my comment to the general manager.
Yes, thank you. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, sorry for my absence. I had to urgently go to the toilet, but in the previous motion, did you put me down as a yes for that? Because you should have waited for it.
Well, yeah.
I was busting. That's why I was early for a break.
Right.
You know here.
I'll put the motion 13.7. All in favour? Carried unanimously. We go to reports for decision. For information, sorry. 14. Monthly activity report, General Manager, November 2024. The recommendations report item 14.1 is received as information. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Trembath.
I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you. Second, please. Councillor O'Grady. Thank you. Councillor Trembath.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Councillor O'Grady.
Nothing to add.
Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I do. I'm just getting to my notes. Sorry, in one of the pages here. Do have several questions. Get them. So, in the, point A, work health and safety and risk activities, WHSR attending Black Springs Hall. What was the outcome of that? Because I do recall that we had some conversation after the investigation of the tank that was out the back of the Black Springs Hall. And I thought that we had moved a resolution after that via Councillor McCarthy's that said just move it and get on with it. So what is the outcome of that? Before that?
Acting General Manager, you're able to respond to that.
Through the chair, there was a recommendation from the committee to do a risk assessment on the structural integrity of the tank. We deemed that the tank needed to be demolished, and that work's been programmed and should be happening very shortly.
I just thought there was a resolution after that Councillor McCarthy had moved to just do it. I do recall that, but I can't recall what specific meeting it was. And, another thing, under recruitment, under human resources, I note there, about the trainee applications that had finished. And under recruitment, I'm also wondering, was there a position, there was 3 positions for labourers previously? What ended up happening with those 3 positions for labourers that were called previously? Were those positions filled, or, because I note that we now have part-time positions open?
Thank you, gentlemen. Do you know, or we
What
can take
happened
that,
with the
take the question on notice?
Apologise, councillor, I'm not familiar with that, the outcome of those recruitment drives for those
Right.
positions.
I'll take the question on notice.
I'll
Like
take it.
a response
Yeah.
via email?
Yes.
Thank you. And, nothing further. Thank
All
you.
right, any further discussion on this matter? If not, I put the motion. All in favour that the report on item 14.2 is received as information, carried unanimously. Go to 14.2, which is the monthly activity report, planning and development for November 2024. The recommendation is the report item 14.2 is received as information. Do I have a motion?
Move the recommendation.
Thank you, councillor Trembard. Councillor Hayden, thank you.
Have nothing to ask.
Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm just looking at the report here, under 28 Tasman Street. I thought something else, we had another resolution regarding Tasman Street, and I'm just wondering what's actually happened with that.
We sold, if I may, we resolved to get a price on the power, and it's been accepted as is, so that's a good
We
thing.
sold it, yeah.
And the person knows the cost of
Yes.
the power.
Okay,
They've
so,
got another activity they want to do on it.
okay, I just find that just, yeah. Okay.
Anything else, councillor Hayden? Anyone else?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, councillor McCarthy, yes.
Just the dog matters and all the rest of it. As you see in the general manager's report, we had 2. We get the report from our, what do you call it? We got none. No problem. So I'm just wondering why we're working overtime with the townkeeper if we've got no dog problems.
Director. Director Planning, no?
Through the chair, currently we don't have not an on-call animal control person, but a person who relieves the full-time ranger position. So the ranger position comes in on the weekends to feed the animals in the town. At the same time, also while he's out, he regularly gets called out for stock control matters and or other complaint matters as well. So that's why he's here on the weekends if you do cite him.
I realised that this was when I asked him, this was during the week, and it was quite reasonably late. And to read the report, we don't have any problems. So that's what I'm bewildered about. That's all.
Through the chair, I'm not sure
what you're saying. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, we seem to be need to work overtime. Yet we got no Australian stock, or we've got no dog nuisances and all the rest. Yet, well, if I'm not reading it right, on page 58 and 59.
Through the chair, where it says complaints, it includes animal control and livestock. But most of those 28 are animal control and livestock.
Okay. But, all right. But have we impounded any stock when they're out? Or do we just give them back and say, put them back in and we go no further, even if their fences are, and they're out the next day?
Through the chair, generally, if we are aware or the owner or locate the owner, we'll get them to relocate the stock. If it's obviously a companion animal, whether it's being a dog or a cat, we will impound them. We did so today.
All right. Thank you.
All right. No further discussion on this matter. I put 14.2, report item 14.2 is received information. All in favour? Passed unanimously. At 14.3. So 14.3, which is on page 60. Monthly activity report, technical services, November 2024. I think it's actually missing a number at the top. The recommendation is the report 14.3 is received as information. What I might do is change that slightly to say the report 14.3 monthly activity report technical services November 2024 is received as information on the basis that it actually doesn't have a number at the top. So to clarify it in case we need referencing later. Someone put that as per my wording. Thank you, Councillor Trimmer. Yes, Councillor Hayden. Second again? Thank you.
No, well,
Gonna be
Mr. Mayor, I'm just wondering if you can just look around the room before you just look to one side, because I had my hand up before you finished your sentence. So I would like you to pay a little bit more attention. Thank you.
Councillor Hayden, I do, and I think you have moved a number of motions tonight, and
It doesn't matter who does what, it just we're trying to progress the meeting.
right. I'm not sure of the point. The point at the moment is we have a mover and you have seconded, have you not?
Yes.
Right. We have any discussion in relation to this technical services?
Yes.
Report? Thank you, Councillor
That's the.
I have nothing to add.
Right. Thank you. Just in regards to Barriga Road tree pruning, I did notice that some tree pruners had been out and about previous months, not currently. I haven't seen any out on the Barriga Road. And gravel road maintenance and re-sheeting. How many times have we done Chatham Valley Road and Spring Mount Road gravel re-sheeting? 5. Through the mayor to technical services, and I don't mean to sound iffy, but I want a little bit more in there that's current, because I note that the technical services director is probably very busy. I'd prefer to have the amount of potholes that someone's filling up with snuffleupagus removed, and some expanded information on our local roads that are current to the week or to the month or the week within the month. If that's okay, because these keep popping up and I see them every report.
Technical Services Director, let's start with the first comment. Barriga Road tree pruning, is that occurring or has occurred?
Through the chair, I go with what my staff provides me, and I just provide that has occurred. I'm happy to confirm that it was done.
All right, maybe confirmed by email.
Yeah.
In relation to Chatham Valley Way, have you got an issue that, sorry?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I read all the reports from the previous meeting and the previous. So councillors are quite entitled to go and read all the previous reports. I understand that sometimes directors may get reports and maybe change 1 or 2 words here and there, but we cannot possibly be resheeting these particular roads that have been listed in here previously. Again, that's my issue.
Through the chair, what I assume there's multiple sections, and some section may have done last month and some may have been done this month. So again, happy to confirm the exact details of that and get back to you. And happy to cut out the potholes too out of the report.
I'm not bothered with the photos, doesn't bother me.
Is that it?
Thank you.
Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, I've just got 3 quick questions.
Yes.
Regarding the sewage treatment plant, we were going to organise an inspection.
Yes.
Regarding the roads, we were going to organise a quarterly inspection for those wanting to jump on a bus and have a look. So if we can, if we can organise that, and then just as a question to the director, saw the water consumption. Yeah, but it wouldn't be hard to reconcile consumption from the dam to usage. Do you ever do that to see if there's?
Through the chair, we do that normally annually, and it's brought back to the Department of Climate Change, Energy, Environment and Water. to which we have to report a lot, which was part of my presentation to councillors last month, which amounted to about 90%. It was actually recommended to me by staff, should we do it more frequently if that's possible with the overlap, the water read through the consumption to see how effective the water meter replacement is going to be.
I guess that's where I'm coming from. There is later we've got the unpaid water rates and the issue of electronic meters or one that is so crucial and vital for this council. Thank you.
So I think the roads tour obviously was subject to what occurred with whether there was going to be a full works committee or whether it was a committee, a working group, and who was going to be on it. That's now to be determined. It's the whole of council, as you recall. So I think that will go ahead, and the STP, I'm sure that's in train, and the technical services director and the acting general manager will note that and come back with some times. All right. Was there anything else, Councillor Corrie?
Thank you.
Are they the three? Right. All right. Any further discussion, Councillor McCarthy? Thank you.
Yes, just to the director on page 61, the report says the jet patch is off the road, which is fair enough. Can we still be treating the potholes with the emulsion that's in the bag?
Through the chair, I believe that is done simply. Once we had a breakdown, that was then bag patched.
Okay.
Do we know how long it's going to be off the road?
I'm not sure if it's even back on the road. I haven't actually been to the depot to explore that.
All right, thank you. All right, any further discussion on this issue? If not, I put the motion that the report at 14.3 monthly activity report technical services hyphen November 2024 is received as information. All in favour? Thank you. You go to page 67, 14.4 monthly activity report corporate services November 2024. Recommendation if the report item 14.4 is received as information. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Hayden, Councillor McCarthy, thank you.
Yes, as it states, that the report be received for information. I have a question
So
for.
the motion is as per the recommendation.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have a question for our corporate services director, who's in our current position and is acting now. Regarding the CCTV upgrade options, has there been any progression around that? As we've got massive concerns with the reef amenities being broken into and the theft of equipment, quite substantial costs involved there, and also the recent break-in at the Black Springs Hall. Can we get some costings added to around the hall into that as well? I mean, I don't know what's coming to our community at the moment, but you know, being a small council, we can't afford the theft and the break-ins that occur. So has that progressed? How far will it be progressing, and will we see something come back to council that we have to make a decision on?
Through the chair, the two parts to that one, the CCT upgrade, first one for the Oberon Township, that's the TI allocation.
Mm-hmm.
So we are assessing the proposal there as to how we can best get the best coverage for the investment that the council has provided us. We also have received some quotes for other remote locations such as the Reef and also looking at Black Springs Hall, both from a camera and a remote block facility. So both those locations, we are just assessing how we best provide coverage to connect those cameras and those. So absolutely, there will be a report coming back to council, no doubt on those. Pretty soon. We're just finalising our assessments. Yeah, so
because it is quite urgent. I mean,
yeah. Councillor McCarthy.
Report speaks to itself.
I think if I could just further on with Councillor Hayden's point, because of the issues we have, and because of interoperability and compatibility issues, maybe we need to look at what adjuncts we can have to the funded CCTV, which will be our outside systems are not sort of orphan systems, if there needs to be some compatibility issues.
Yeah, that's the intent of
Hunting cameras.
yeah, through the chair, the intention is to try and ensure that they're all
Yeah.
feeding into the one network, but some of those more remote locations, that's a little bit more work required in the best options that we can bring back to council.
Yeah,
But we are definitely aware of some.
If we get a system in other areas, then we need to ensure that they're basically interoperable, compatible, so that whoever's reading them can do the same read as the reef has done, you know. That's all I'm asking.
Isn't there a way that the council can get a system that has movement activated cameras?
Well, I think that'll come back in the report, so.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we've made, yeah. All right, any further discussion on this? Not, I put the motion with the report item 14.4 is received as information. All in favour? Thank you. We go to 14.5, investments November 2024. The recommendation is the report item 14.5 is received as information. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor McCarthy, as per the recommendation?
Yep.
Second, please. Councillor O'Connor, thank you.
Straightforward.
Right. Any further comment? If not, I'll put the motion. That report item 14.5 is received as information. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Right now.
Yes,
Oh,
That one, they don't need the.
oh, well, I had to wait for four.
all right, I'm happy to call a break for a minute. I would have liked to have gone into it.
It's just getting
Can we
too,
go to confidential?
no, I'd like to have a break now.
No, we'll call a break, but we'll go straight into confidential after this. Right, 5-minute break.
Oh, no, I just want to.
So could we stop the recording, please? Having a recess for 5 minutes. Thanks. Commence, please. So councillors, we're up to item 14.6, grants update November 2024. We recording? Thank you. The recommendation is that the report item 14.6 is received as information. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Trembath.
Move recommendation.
Thank you. Second, please. Councillor Hayden. Councillor Trembath. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, happy to second the recommendation as it sits. I did have some questions around the grant notification part A, the infrastructure, transport, regional communications and arts, safer local roads and infrastructure program. The portions underneath, details down there around Culver Crossing, Artstone Road and all that. Is there any updates further to that?
Through the chair, that's the Safe Local Roads grant. No major further updates. It's not presented in the report. We've done an assessment on those 5 projects and are narrowing that down to the 3 that are mentioned in that particular report. That grant, we have a runway out till the end of 31st of January, and we're just trying to gather all the appropriate costings and stuff to complete those applications.
Okay, thank you. And then number D, once again, with Crown Reserves Improvement Fund grant, mentioned earlier in the meeting about the Reef Reserve as well as the Black Springs Reserve. Will there be separate grants going in for those applications there? That closes, I note, on the 21st of the month.
Yeah, through the chair, we are busily putting the quotes together for those 2 reserves, and yeah, we will apply as per the grant guidelines as to how to get both those reserves forward.
Okay, and I note under green applications, Part A, Anzac Day, the green application to be submitted by the 11th of November for the Anzac grant. Has that one been done, and was the letter received for that application?
Through the chair, it was, yes.
From the Burringer.
From the.
Yes, I signed it.
Yes, we received a letter of support and submitted that. Very close to closing time, yeah.
Thank you, nothing further.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just a quick question.
Councillor Cole.
With With the grant funding for roads, is there a shift from 100% funding to 80% or maybe less? Is that what's going to happen in the future?
Yeah, through the chair, definitely seeing a shift in that co-contribution. It's pretty unusual now in our viewing that you'll get a full funded grant application. And I think that from our discussion with Green Authority, they're doing that to whittle out, well thought through, well committed applications, and by the co-contribution barrier tends to do a bit of that as well. So it's definitely something that we're seeing more and more of. And there'll be different tiering for, remote classified councils. But yes, it's definitely something we're seeing is becoming more prevalent across all grants.
So we can't walk away from that, can we? We have to step up really.
And if I could, if you look at the items 2 and 4 at the top of page 75, they're quite substantive, the Arkstone Road one and the Campbell's River Road. There have been some reports prepared on those before. It's probably quite interesting for new councils to have a look at those too, because they're quite extensive projects and the reasons for those projects. I think some of them, I think they're on the portal, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of reports on the portal.
Through the chair, yeah, some of those are from our council meetings. If people need some help locating, we can put them back on.
But they are quite major projects, so I think it would be worth you and Councillor Everett and Councillor Grado having a look, because to understand the reasoning and to understand why they're necessary, but also to understand why the cost. Yeah. I mean, if you look at them, they are both very necessary projects, but we've just got to find some funding for them. Councillor Tucker, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for this report. I always find this report very clear and very useful. 2 quick questions. Page 75, the Black Spot program, first paragraph, it mentions where the benefit costs ratios are not met, must have a safe systems assessment. I'm assuming or guessing that I haven't heard of a safe systems assessment, but I imagine that's some way of trying to assess the potential for a crash, even if there hasn't been a crash history, perhaps due to low volumes. Do you know if that's what that means?
Yeah, through the chair, under those, a lot of those road safety ones, there's the sort of proactive measures, and that's one of the challenges, I guess, that we are working through, is working through the Safe System portal assessments about how a particular treatment is a proactive measure that was going to say you
may not. So there may not be an accident history, but you can assess to say, well, the way this is at the moment, we recognise there is potential, because that's the thing you always get, that people who don't want something say, well, there's no crashes while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Then if there is a crash, they say, well, you knew it was a problem. Why didn't you do something?
Yeah. Through the chair, data is a real challenge in that space, and
especially with low volume. And my reason for asking it is just wondering whether you could have a look at the Abercrombie Sloggets intersection that I have raised previously to see if that might be suitable under that program.
Okay. Through the chair, noted we can have a look at it and include the next.
And if someone is going to have a look at it, I'd be happy to meet someone on site and explain what I think the risks are. And I think there are a couple of quite significant risks there. My second question, page 77, the final item, Dudley Dart Street, footpath and pedestrian refuge. Application submitted 10th of March, more than 6 months ago. No idea when we're going to get an answer on that?
No, through the chair, that one is still, I'm suspecting that we have not been successful. We haven't had any official notification on that. And I think one of the things that we also see in grants is that some of this timelines are really drifting, and some programs can, but we have not had any further details on that one, so we'll remain pending until we're just quietly hopeful.
All right, thank you. That was all, Mr. Mayor.
Further discussion. I have a question, if I could, or acting General Manager, page 76, the top. So in respect to the Crown Reserves, which heading are we applying, under general, weed management, or pest control? Or be general weed management, I take.
Through the chair, we are targeting the weed management grants. We liaise with Crown about some guidance as to where the Crown grants are notoriously difficult to secure. So we have tried to assess where the sweet spot or threshold would be for a project in council of our size. So that's the one we're targeting for the Black Springs Reserve and the Reef Reserve. And those costings, as I mentioned earlier, are being compiled at the moment.
So do we have any pest control issues with the reef? Obviously, the Burriga Dam does, but any other Crown reserves that we should be looking at?
Well, through the chair, we haven't pursued any of that at this point in time. The timeframe on this grant is very short, 4-week turnaround. So, just noting that I think we have about 6 grants that are closing on the 22nd or the 25th of November. So the turnaround time is quite short, but on that one at this point in time, we're just pursuing weed management.
Okay, because I was just thinking with pest control grants, it may be appropriate for some of our Crown reserves to apply for exclusion fencing around them. As a future opportunity, I'm start thinking of, not, I realise it's inappropriate, but we haven't got time for this one, but maybe we should be looking at, getting prepared for that, because that may be may assist and it may fall within the criteria. I don't know. All right, no further, sorry, Councillor McCarthy.
What about including some action on the dam reserve? There's some large weed control up there, it's broom, and I know everyone says, oh, it's a natural current thing, but there's a massive amount of weeds and that up there as well. Need to go for a drive, mate.
Through the dam reserve?
The Oberon.
Oberon Dam Reserve, up behind the golf club. Further on.
Oh, the fish drilling.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Move that one. Yeah. No, we can have a look at that.
We have a look at that. Okay, thanks. All right, any further discussion? If not, I put the motion that report item 14.6 is received as information. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Go to 14.7, status update, November 2024. The recommendation is that report 14.7 is received as information. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Hayden. Seconder, Councillor O'Connor. Thank you.
Motion as it is recommendation. I just have a couple of questions in the status report, and I won't hold it up, and I know that this is it's Mina's questions.
I'm leaving it to you, Councillor.
Well, thank you. But just noticing in here around the commentary in the business case, item 15, 210921, noticing that's been constantly progressing down through the last couple of years with constant commentary from the GM stating no additional advice received, council's undertaking an assessment of a housing grant, 15th to the 5th, opportunity to have potentially arisen, which they don't, they come and go. Then the 10th of the 7th, new grant opportunities, the 9th of the 10th, a number of grant opportunities, and the 8th of the 11th, grant opportunities. So I'm just wondering when that may be coming back to this council so that we can actually do some reviews on that Lindware Avenue land, because we need to make some decisions because we'll be going into the 3rd or 4th year for this land. Also down further, the residential land development under the same commentary that opportunities, new opportunities, something opportunities, and we really do need a report to come back to this council. If the mayor could bring that up with the general manager when you have some time, bring that back to this council so that we can have some reviews over that. If there's a report, bring the report, but we need to look at that because it's taken up time and it's just sitting there going nowhere. The Black Springs land issue. We note that I've had some correspondence from Andrew G. The council has, I think from memory, has had some correspondence from Andrew G. And your mayoral letter that was sent through. Council's put that land aside. If we can get something concrete to get that happening with that Telstra tower would be great. Since 3G has been turned off, one of the major issues out in the rural areas currently is that 000 does not work without service. This has been proven. I have had to use the service. It does not work. 112 no longer works. That is a 3G platform for that. So emergency services being in a high category 4 fire area, some are coming up. No service in these rural areas. We need to, as a council, explicitly make it a massive thing for this Labor government so that they realise by turning off that 3G, the impact it's had with the carryover service. 4G doesn't get to hardly any of the areas. 3G was kind of giving you one bar to connect. Now there's no bars to connect, and emergency services 000 doesn't. So I'd like that board up. I note that the Mayor and the GM will be going up to the Local Government New South Wales Conference. And I'm just wondering if, Mr Mayor, you have maybe 5 minutes up your sleeve to draft something and get that expressed to them, the massive seriousness this impacts on rural communities, please. Thank you.
Thank you. The second of this, nice, okay. Councillor O'Connor, thank you.
We've just got 2 questions regarding the industrial subdivision. Again, because I'm a new councillor. The tender, is that the tender to develop the subdivision?
Yeah, I think it's, it's probably meant to say the request for tender. I'll remember probably, but that's how, that's correct, isn't it?
We've awarded the tender.
We've awarded the tender, so the tender, yes, so,
That's the tender who's going to develop.
yes,
Yep.
that's right, we have, yes.
And then develop an application to approve the development. Contracts being finalised prior to this, that's finalise the subdivision or
Finalise the contract.
Contract with the tenderer.
contract? Good, okay. And then the second one is just regarding the tree plantings. With the tree plans, is there a committee advising the council?
We have a street plan, master street plan, and your SPAC and Mossop, it's actually on the portal. It's worth having a look at.
Yeah.
We did that last council term or the term before. It's the same company we did Orange. And they've put a plan together and we're working to that plan. Obviously, we've got to do further inquiries in relation to services. They did some, but it's probably not, as discussed, it's not clear enough, so we have to do a bit more investigating. So that's, if you have a look on that site, you'll see what's happening. On to Councillor Hayden, just before we close this, I have spoken with General Manager previously about both the residential land and Glenwynd, and said that, look, we can only go so far with these grant opportunities. We have to have a date where we have to make a decision. So I've had that discussion. I haven't had a discussion as to when it's going to come back, but I do appreciate the fact you've raised. On the Telco Tower at Black Springs, I sent to Andrew G to send to the Minister Michelle Rowland a copy of the letter or the copy of what the General Manager sent. And I said, if Andrew G needed anything further, please get back to me as soon as possible. Following on from your comment. And the third one, yes, I will be, thank you for that information. I will, where possible, raise it at the local government. And if the JO has a meeting with federal ministers later this year, which I think they have, I'm not sure, no, it might be early next year, I will certainly try and raise it with Michelle Rowland. Yes.
And in right of reply, just wanted to bring up sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll wait.
Councillor Tucker?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have a couple of queries. The first one follows on from one of Councillor Hayden's and from your response that you just gave in relation to the residential land development. So I'm on page 492 and the latest note from the General Manager. Well, Councillor Hayden was correct. The whole long series of, looking at possibilities for grant funding. And then the latest one dated 8th of November says development application developed in preparation for an assessment process. And that's the one that's puzzling me, because I was under the impression that that was done ages ago. I thought the design and the DA were all done and it was just a matter of funding it and getting on with the work, was my impression. And when you look back to the 8th of August of last year, 15 months ago, it says DA being prepared for council consideration. So I'm just after a clarification, and if none of the staff here today can answer that, while I can wait for them.
Well, we'll take on notice.
Yeah.
Let's take on notice, yeah.
All right. Next one is on pages 502 and 503. I'll scroll down, I'm not very good at doing this. And it is in relation to the landscaping at Hughes's pit. And it talks about mine closure plan being developed. And I just want to remind whoever about number 4 of the original resolution, where it says seek advice on whether the pit contains any usable material. Have we done any sort of assessment? Because I don't want to go ahead and close the pit and find that, oh, well, there was still another 20,000 metres we could have got out of there.
I don't know, textual services.
Bottom of 502, top of 503.
It was the huge.
Or it's page 14 and 15 of the attachment.
502.
Yeah, 502.
It was usable material, is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure.
So I just want to make sure we don't go too far with the closure process if we don't know if we want to hang on to it.
Yeah, okay. That's okay. Point noted. Points noted.
And my final one is page 510, and the proposal that we did have for Bill Flower Drive, which was rejected. And so we were writing to the association asking if they wanted to consider naming something else in his honour.
Yes.
And I don't understand the comment from the GM 8th of November. It says development application developed in preparation for an assessment process. Correspondence provided to Borough Community Associations supportive of another option for dedication. I'm just confused.
I think the DA part's probably an error, but I will check with the general manager. I think the process correspondence from the association was received agreeing to the suggestion that we name the
park.
Not the park, no, it was the building within it, not the pavilion. Rotunda Pavilion.
Right.
The Rotunda, that's what I was looking, thank you.
So where it says supportive of another option, they have recommended which other option they want.
I was at the meeting. And I've emailed back to the general manager, and I think they believe they've sent a letter, haven't they? But we'll check that, but certainly that was a recommendation from the meeting, yes. I was at the meeting present, so I can talk to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, Councillor McCarthy?
Do we need to add the common part to the status report? So it doesn't become long-winded? Like, council made a decision to get this part done. I understand that it's asbestos, we don't want to expose the thing. You speak to the staff, there's no mapping of this asbestos. We want to get this damn part done. And it was the previous council that had it. I think this part should be added to the status report, so this thing doesn't get lost.
Well, we'll investigate where it was subject to a resolution, and it can be noted there to check this, to keep the status going.
Well, the original resolution was to get the thing done as quick as possible. And that was when we voted the money for it.
We'll investigate and look at when the resolution was passed and if it's still open. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, any councillor Hayden?
And
sorry, councillor McCarthy.
And the other one, I'm saying with the land development, I thought the council had it back to them and they decided to go with the 13 lot subdivision.
Yes.
But is that correct?
Yes.
And told to get on with it, like, so
And you highlighted it when I was talking to you the other day. And one of the, in your report shows that one of the things that was probably funded, costed at 1.8 is now nearly up to 3 million. And that's going to be the trouble with this land development. You keep dragging your legs and the cost goes through the roof.
Right.
We made a decision, we provided grant funding to get us started. And I know what you said, that there's no real land sales out there, but how do we know? If you put it out in a different range, it might be snapped up straight away.
So what do you want to report back on this or?
Well, you shouldn't have to have a report. The status says, get on with it.
Yes, right.
But anyway, the 3 people in this room voted for the general managed performance, and this is what we get. We're getting nothing. We're not moving.
Councillor Hayden?
Right of reply. Yes, I'd like to, note that what councillor McCarthy has said, when we looked at that land down opposite the state park, the discussions at the time were affordable housing, develop the land for 13 blocks with the possibility from the previous mayor of possibly putting some dual units on each block and having some return out of that. I think we're going to have to relook at that down the track. Land sales is land for sale all over Oberon, but you know, it would be good to develop some affordable housing and have a bit of a rental base and have some management around that. I just wanted to bring up in closing for my right of reply, something that I didn't mention, and it was regarding the delegates to external organisations. I'm just wondering when all councillors will get a list with their delegations on it, because some of us with the day's proceedings and being very exhausting, and some things coming to the council meeting and other things not, that we can get each councillor get a list with their delegations and their alternate delegations and when these meetings are on, because as we know, some are on monthly, some are bi-monthly, some are quarterly, some are twice a year. So if councillors can get that, and also I did have a query, and I'm sorry.
Sorry, I think a composite list to all councillors, maybe not an individual one to each councillor.
Well, a list, just a comprehensive list, and when meetings are generally held. Also, I do note that we do have 3 new councillors on council. However, those councillors, this is the second meeting, they haven't received badges and business cards. Will that be occurring again? So these councillors also have those requirements. And when will that be happening?
Through the chair, absolutely. That would be a process at the moment.
In train now.
Yeah, not too far away.
In train now.
Yeah.
And card, business. Yeah.
Is that badge for the car?
No, it's badge for you.
You want to? Sorry, you don't get it.
It's just so these new councillors are updated on these things that they're going to be required to have, especially going as delegates or going.
No, point taken. But I think it's appropriate that a list is circulated. We don't give each, we just, so everyone knows who's on which committee where. I think, yeah.
And regarding the updates to the council page on the website, because the new councillors' phone numbers aren't even up there. I've had some inquiry from some residents that have stated they've been looking for people's phone numbers and they can't find their phone numbers to call them. So that's one of them, and one of the new councillors had that stated to them as well. And just with those committees on there, that would be good.
We're only in training at the moment, so I think that's why.
You're in training. Point of order, Mr Mayor, if you can explain to some of the new councillors the processes around our meeting procedure, and also that they need to adhere to that.
All right. I put the motion that the report 14.7 is received as information. All in favour? Thank you. We go to 14.8, questions taken on notice of the previous council meeting. Recommendation is that report 14.8 is received as information and the responses noted. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Hayden. Councillor Trembar. Thank you, Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I would like to thank the general manager for providing this. I would, however, yes, and the motion as the recommendation, but I would like to state that not all questions taken on notice have been answered. There were some specific water questions that were answered most definitely, and the extensive answers by our technical services director. But I think frustration from the community. There are several community members over the past year that have not had their questions taken on notice answered, nor have some of my questions taken on notice answered. Some of them go back to last December. And I'm sure there's other councillors here from the last term that have also not had some questions taken on notice answered.
So the question is, from the previous council meeting, have you specific comments in relation to the questions and the responses here listed?
Sorry? I've just said I accept this, but I'm just stating.
Right, so you accept this. Okay, councillor Trember.
Nothing further.
Anything further from any other councillor? All right, I put the motion that the report 14.8 is received as information, the response is noted. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Go to 14.9. Oberon Comprehensive Land Use Strategies Engagement Plan Update. The recommendations, the report item 14.9 is received as information. Could I have a motion, please? Thank you, councillor O'Connor. Councillor O'Grady, thank you. Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As a new councillor, I find the report outstanding, but very informative, and now I get a better perspective on this term that I was a bit fearful of. Thank you very much.
Councillor. Thank you. And I'm glad that, you know, as we all read it, we understood it, but I'm glad new council have actually got a good understanding of it as well, because that means it's actually achieving purpose. Thank you very well. Thank you very much, Director. All right. Any further discussion on this, Councillor McCarthy? Thank you.
In the last paragraph, it says that project timelines are conceptual. Shouldn't we have a finalised date?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll ask the Director of Planning, but I think that's an outline of the overarching timeline, and hopefully that will be met, but there can be absolutely no certainty on it because we don't know what community engagement is going to involve and how much is going to come out of that community engagement, but I'll leave that to the Director.
Through the chair, I agree with your comments, Mr Mayor. The timeline it's fluid based on community consultation, and we may need further consultation based on what comes back from the community and councillors. From the outset, it was always going to be a fairly lengthy process and needs to be done correctly. So I think doing it properly and spending extra time, if required, is necessary.
But there is a time frame and there is a schedule, so any major deviations, I'm sure, will be notified to us and we'll be told about it.
Okay, I understand that councillor Trembarth, we moved that these people were professional, but are we going out to the community before Christmas? And if not, why not?
Well, it's January, I think, is on the engagement plan.
No, me.
Sorry, I'm on, yes, councillor.
Through the chair, as you can see by the timeline, they're also, whilst they're not having consultation with the community, they are reviewing or preparing draft strategies to bring to the community. And they have been also looking at all our current policies and LEP, DCP in terms of how they're going to develop the consultation. And come back to have further meetings with council and council staff and specific stakeholder and agencies before we go out to the broader community. So there will be consultation happening in December.
Okay.
Based on this timeline.
Right. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I do take on board what Councillor McCarthy has brought up when we went through this process of finding the right applicable person to or company to run this comprehensive land use strategy. I do recall a councillor stating that this company would be the best company because it would have engaged with the Oberon Council less than they are. And I note throughout the report engage with Oberon Council, meet with Oberon Council, engage with Oberon Council, meet with Oberon Council, this stakeholder, that stakeholder. And one of the other tenderers within that group, we were told weren't going to be good enough because this specific contract or this specific business would be more independent and could do everything without having to tie up council's time. And now I'm seeing within this report, there's a lot of council time that's being tied up in here. And I don't require an answer from anyone, but I want to make that known. And I want to put that out there, that this is utilising a lot of council time in those people being paid that exorbitant amount of money to fulfil their obligation and their requirement under the tender to complete this before they then meet with council, meet with councillors, because we requested that as well when we first passed this resolution. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there and make that known. Thank you.
Councillor, you got right reply. And did anyone else want to speak to this?
No.
I put the motion that the report item 14.9 is received information. All in favour? Yep. Passed unanimously. 14.10, League Table Publication Development Assessment. Recommendations report 14.10 is received information. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Hayden, Councillor Trimbar. Thank you, Councillor Hayden.
Yeah, happy to move the motion that the report item 1410 is received as information and nothing further to add. Thank you.
Councillor Trimbar.
I have nothing to add, thank you.
Any further discussion? If I put the motion, all in favour? Carried unanimously. 1411. Audited financial statements for the year 23-24. The recommendations report 14.11 is received information. Have a motion, please. Councillor McCarthy, Councillor Tucker, thank you. Councillor McCarthy.
And have we got that statement from Leanne Smith the other day?
Councillor Tucker.
Yes, nothing to add. I can make the same point. I've seen it all before, so thank you.
The other discussion? If not, I put the motion. Item 14.11 is received as information. All in favour? Thank you. Item 15. Urgent business. There is no urgent business.
Drink of water for the minute.
The man might be next.
No way. There's no urgent business. I go to 16, closed session confidential reports. According to the Local Government Act 1993 and the Local Government General Regulation, in the opinion of the General Manager, business outlined in items 16, 1, 16, 2, 16, 3, 16, 4 and 16, 5 is of a kind as referred to in section 10A2 of the Act and should be dealt with in a part of the meeting closed to the media and the public. Could I have someone to move us into closed session confidential, please? Councillor Hayden, a seconder, please. Councillor Graham, all in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd ask that the recording cease, please. Recording. Thank you. Thank you. During our closed session confidential, the following resolutions were passed. 16.1 curbside garbage collection tender. The motion passed for the council award the contract for its curbside garbage collection to Oberon Trash Pack for an annual value of $138,629.92, including GST, for the collection of bins in Oberon and at its recreation areas of the Reef, Hassel Park and Flat Rock for a duration of 2 years, with the option for council to extend twice, each for a period of 12 months. And 2, note the opportunities that may present themselves in the future subject to the implementation of a dedicated waste strategy. 16.2, newspaper communication options. The motion passed was that council accept the proposal to advertise fortnightly in the Central West Village Voice newspaper and cease production of the monthly Oberon and surrounding villages community newsletter following the distribution of the December edition. 16.3 Water Write-off Request Assessment 1236971. The motion passed was that council write off 25% of the water consumption charges for assessment 1236971 for progress total of $4,398.12 as at the 24th April 2024, and offer a payment arrangement for the remaining 75%. 16.4 Water Write-off Request Assessment 12398519. The motion passed with the council to not write off the water consumption charges for assessment 12398519, but instead offer a payment plan arrangement for full cost recovery. 16.45 Water Write-off Request Assessment 1236656. The motion passed was the council to not write off the water consumption charges for assessment 1236656, but instead offer a payment plan arrangement for full cost recovery. That the next ordinary meeting of Oberon Council will be held on the 17th of December 2024, commencing at 5:30 p.m. in the Oberon Council Chambers, 137 Oberon Street, Oberon. And I declare the meeting closed at 10:11 p.m. 10:07. Sorry, 10:07.